welcome to episode 10 of Rap Drinks. We've got Brandon Taylor, BT here.
Hey guys, howdy.
Key grip extraordinaire. That's how I know him, but we're gonna dive deeper into that because I think this man has a couple layers to him.
Am I the first key you've had on?
Like
Like
person
first key
who
grip?
is a key grip.
Yeah. All right. So you got just nothing but like electricians and
I mean, you know, gaffers that dabble and you know.
I mean, was Martin just a grip?
Martin's a third,
Yeah.
and Lukens was a best boy.
Okay.
He said that was
kidding, Lukens,
that
I'm
was his
kidding.
opening, his first job. But they were like, "You'd be a good best boy." And he's like, "Sure."
Yeah, sure I would. Yeah.
Yeah, and Smokey's not a grip. And he'll say that, you know.
But a beautiful juggler.
Yes.
And Lukens does like a lot of like up close card magic, and BK has just a dulcet voice of a soprano.
Yes.
And if anyone works with him, you should definitely ask all of them about that.
It's an incredible traveling
Yeah,
circus.
no, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
Well, cheers, man. Welcome to the show.
Yes.
Thanks for
Oh, it's
being
good
on.
seeing you.
Yeah,
again. It's
likewise.
been a fucking
Haven't seen
long
you
time.
forever.
Yeah, dig. Cheers downtown.
Cheers. So let's get into it. Like,
All right.
tell me, essentially, like, we know you're a key grip, but were you birthed that way? Is that how it happened? How does a key grip?
I came out drinking a yellow beer, smoking a butt, like full of like, attitude, opinionated. No, honestly, it was like a series of poor life choices brought me to keying. My old man is a production designer. So I started working like on set, like as a set rat when I was like 13 or 12 or something. He was working for a dude named Doug Trumbull, who did like 2001 and Blade Runner and shit like that.
Wow.
And so I was just like, I guess I would be a Nepo baby, I guess is how the kids would say it now. Although I fucked that up pretty royally, so I didn't. I started working for my old man and for Doug when I was like 13, like a little set rat. Like I did the first Judge Dredd. I worked on that. I worked in the model department, which was super fun because like it was the same. Doug brought in a lot of the same dudes that did Blade Runner. So there's a lot of the same model department. Nice. So like we built like the original, the first Judge Dredd was Stallone. Like we built they.
I was like, you were 13-year-old self.
Yeah. I was like, guys, a little to the left. Is this really 1 to 60-second scale? Like, I don't know. No, but like they built all of Mega City 1 like in this giant warehouse, full blown model department. There's a dude named Daijiro Ban who did the Statue of Liberty, which was super cool because it was it was just a full model. And so my job was I think they were just being nice to me, honestly. I doubt any of my shit actually made it into the film. But like they gave me like a stack of porno mags and a stack of skateboard mags and an X-Acto knife and 3M glue and were like, make billboards. So at like 13, it was like, fucking yes. Like, so that was pretty neat. And then I did a racer. I did a racer. I watched the pyro department blow shit up for a racer.
Oh, fuck.
And then they did the first Matrix. My old man was the production designer for the special effect, the VFX team side of that. So like he did like the Squiddies, like did the original previs for the Squiddies and Nebuchadnezzar and shit like that. And then my job was they were trying to figure out how to do the bullet time effect with John Gaeta. And so the only people at that time who were filming like artillery at like high-speed artillery was the military. Mm-hmm. So, because like, no one had those high-speed cameras. Like, who needed like 10,000 frames per second,
Yeah.
Yet. We weren't doing beer commercials on the Phantom yet. So my job was I just bin logged like the footage that we got from the U.S. military showing what artillery did, like over a distance.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah, it was just like an edit, like a little edit monkey, went off to college with no intent of going to film, then dropped out of college, like, I think a lot of us in the film industry have done, and needed a job and like wasn't qualified to do anything other than like work in film and was too stupid to realize that like you could call your dad and be like, hey dad, reference me for jobs. Yeah. So I was like, I'm 20, I'm going to strike out on my own or whatever the hell. And so I applied to Mandy.com, which was a sort of a Craigslist, I guess, at the time. I don't know if that even exists anymore, but
Wait, is Mandy gone?
I have no idea. I don't even know. Yeah,
I haven't looked at it
I've
since
definitely
college.
applied to Manny.com.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like that
Yeah.
might be like an anachronistic thing that doesn't even like exist anymore, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I applied to Mandy.com for a PA gig. And I think I was getting paid like $25 a day, probably.
Nice.
And, like in classic, like, it's like some student film or whatever. And, classic, it's like, oh, you're 20 and you're getting paid $25 a day. You drive the 20-foot box truck. You know what I mean? Where I definitely destroyed 2 cars.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely had to take out at least one tail light.
Oh, dude, no, dude, I was driving through by Gramercy Park, and there was a dude's Jaguar was double parked, and I just fully, like, took the door off of that thing. And there was, hand guys, these are true stories. There was a cop there, and he was like, he was double parked, you're good.
And then I just gave you a pass.
Fully. And then
Cinematic community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then
Amazing.
the second time I was driving down like Broadway towards Canal, and I was making a right turn, and like I'm making the right turn, and like the truck kind of went like that, and I went like, oh, that's not good. And I looked at my rearview mirror, and I'd driven over the front of a dude's Mazda Miata, like just over it. And again, the cop was like, he was in the bus lane. You're good.
Wow. Same cop.
Same cop. Yeah.
He's just following you.
Yeah, he's like my Zelig. He just kind of pops up everywhere and just lets me go. Yeah. So I did that gig, and that was gaffed by Michael Yetter, and I believe keyed by Ron Morales, if I remember correctly. So I did that, and then I worked at the art department, and I got on this. I became a I became a set dresser on my next job because that makes sense, and then from that I became a production designer on the next job because why not? I had no idea what I was doing any of those jobs, and I got my ass kicked in the art department as a production designer because classically art you're like first in last out, last to get budget, any of that shit. I built 4 sets in 4 boroughs in 3 days. And I did it without sleeping. So I did 3 days straight of straight work. You're 23 or whatever the hell. And you don't know any better. You don't know to say no. You're just excited. You're making $150 a day or whatever the hell, if that. And I went to the producer and I was like, hey, here's my time card. And it was like, it was just like there was 52 hours straight of work. And he was like, I can't approve this. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, there's no prior approval by the producer. I was like, yeah, but if I didn't do this, we wouldn't have had the sets built, And he's like, oh, sorry. And I was like, all right, fuck this. Like, fuck art department.
Damn.
And I looked around on set, legit. I looked around on set and I was like, who does nobody fuck with on set? And I was like, whatever those dudes do.
Yeah.
Like, no one seems to fuck with those guys. And that was, the key was Dave Stern on that one, who's a terrific, amazing key grip. And like weeks later, I was at a rap party. And I just wound up talking to some dude, and he was like, "Oh, what do you do?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm a grip." And he's like, "Oh, great! Like, I need grips. I'll give you a call." I was like, "Perfect."
Wait,
just lie your way in.
You were just like, I'm a grip.
Oh yeah, legitimately. I was like drunk at a rap party, and he was like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "I'm a grip." And I was like, I was thinking maybe I'll get a gig. And then a week later, my phone rang, and the dude was like, hey, are you available to like work? I got a short film coming up. And I went, yeah, absolutely. Like, what would I be doing? He'd be like, oh, great, you're keying. I'm like, oh, perfect, cool. Click. and I mean, this is pre-YouTube, pre-internet, really. Like I had fucking no idea what a grip did at all, and so like had a full-blown panic attack. I think I went to Barnes and I don't even know how the hell I did it, but there was the Michael Yuva book on like how to grip.
Yep.
I bought that. I read it. And then I showed up on set, and we did, I think, like 35 or 40 setups day one. And I've legitimately been keying since then. Whoa. Like, that's how I got into this. Is I just fully lied, and then that's
awesome.
Like full fake it till you make it.
You hear that?
Yeah, it's doable.
Oh my god!
Don't do that. So yeah, that's how I got into it. That was.
I mean, good for you for at least getting the grip book and like researching it.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Like I was 24, 23, like researching. It's like, this picture's a Cardellini.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know that I was like reading the like,
I mean, have you ever seen the DVD of the grip book?
Oh no,
It's literally just
that the
like
one that has the
this is an
wrap?
apple box,
it
and
really?
then it like cuts like this is a half apple box,
yeah.
and it's just 2 hours of that.
I sort of wish I had come up differently because like so much of my learning how to grip was just straight up trial and error on my own part.
Yeah.
You know, and like, because like I didn't have a guy like telling me like, oh, that's not how you set a C stand, or like that's not how you do this shit. I mean, I think in some ways I benefited. I mean, it's sort of why I'm on shitty rigs, I guess. But like, it did by not knowing what the rules were. It was like I didn't really approach gear the same way all the time. You know what I mean? I was like, oh well, this thing could do that, so why just not use that thing to do that thing? You know. But yeah, I lied. I lied to get into gripping.
Michael Uva used our website to teach his class. Like
That's
he reached out to us after we started our website a couple years in and was like, "Can I send you guys some signed copies of the book? We got like whatever the 8th edition or whatever the fuck it was." And he was like, "I use your website to teach. I don't know if it's good stuff or bad stuff."
I mean, you know, like obviously shitty rigs, I love it, but I feel like it's like a bit of a misnomer because like I actually think that like shitty rigs, like rigging something in a manner that one would wind up on these shitty rigs Instagram is kind of like our purest expression of gripping. Like it's easy to do the thing if you've got the gear in front of you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like where the like art. I mean, this is gonna sound a little whatever, but like where the artistic expression of what we do comes from is like, hey, I need to do this thing. You don't have any of that anywhere, like on the truck. Like figure it out. Like I actually think that shitty rigging is like the best of us. You know, like I mean, as you know, as sort of ridiculous as that sounds, it's like because I mean, there's some rigs
best
on
of
there.
the
It's
worst.
like it's like purest.
Yeah,
form,
that's it's like it's like what is it? It's like that horrible, ridiculous line from Departed where Jack Nicholson doing that interesting choice of Bostonian accent. You know, where he's talking about John Lennon. You know, he's like Lennon's like, you know, give me a tuba and I can make a song out of it. You know, it's like. That's sort of a shitty rig. It's like here's like a long arm, you know, and like some, you know, I don't know, baling wire, you know, and like you know, a Coke bottle. You know, what can you do with that?
And sometimes when you do it, it's almost like, why is this working? Like what? Like,
Oh yeah. No.
Like you've boiled it down to its like simplest form.
Yeah.
1-inch gaff is a 100 mil ball mount. Like
There's
no,
there's
it's
so
like,
many
dude,
things.
totally.
like-
Yeah.
things that people have just gone to the website and then like we post something and then the next 2 weeks will be 40 variations on that same thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
No.
I'm glad we helped you guys out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, it sounds like highfalutin, but like, you know, like I don't know, like I'm sure like Da Vinci and like Marconi and all those dudes, like all of that shit was born of shitty rigs. You know, like Archimedes was
true,
like, you know,
yeah.
had like, you know, fight off the Syrians or whoever, and like just saw the craft service table and like polished up a bowl and, you know, made a death ray out of it. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I was just at Cinegear, and it's like, you know, there's all these little inventions that people are coming out with, and it's like all these are just like
just shitty rigs.
They just shitty rigs that they're like, how can I mass produce this and make money on it?
Right.
You're not gonna make money on 6 zip ties and some gaff tape.
No, as best as we've tried. I mean, I'm sure that every grip has at some point sat on the back of the truck being like, all right, how can I invent the next, you know, like whatever the thing.
Yeah.
I got to get out of this industry, you know, like what do we need, you know, yeah.
So I was curious, considering you had just done your research for the book, this was your first day as a key grip on set. How many things went wrong that day for you?
Honestly, not that many. Like I was lucky in that we were rigging in a barn. So my first job on my first day as a key grip, we were rigging in a barn. So it was just exposed beams everywhere. You know, we're shooting at like head height. So you know, I had like super like I you know plethora of rigging points to work off of, and you know, like you look at I mean. There's definitely an art to what we do, but you know, it's like not rocket surgery. It's like you look at the clamp and you're like, okay, I got to put a thing there, so I can probably clamp that clamp to that thing, and then you know, I got to get I think we were using all Kino flows then too, so I got to get the Kino flow here. So I've got this long arm with this knuckly thing on it, and you know, I had a propensity for being good at it. Like,
Okay.
I lied, and then I just happened to be super good at it.
Okay. But then was like the DP like throwing any terms at you that you didn't know that you were kind of like,
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Where like you do the classic like absolutely we can do that, and then you go like, oh boy, I got to figure out what the fuck he was talking about. And then I'd kind of go over to the gaffer and I'd like sort of pretend like I didn't hear the DP, and I was like, oh, so what does he want? You know, and then he would explain where. And I was like, oh, okay. you fake it till you make it.
So there's a little bit of politics there. It seems like it. Like,
Yeah.
It's more like covering your own ass.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, sure, politics. Yeah, I guess the
That's
true,
kind of all
the,
politics,
yeah, the true sense of politics. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just covering my own ass. But yeah, no, it went pretty good. It went pretty good. I mean, I got hired again, so
Yeah. I mean, here you are.
Yeah,
Still
here I am.
doing it.
Yeah, still, yeah.
Do you? I mean, I know you said that your dad's in a different department, but do you think like growing up around the film sets and even just seeing the way things worked on other movies, like helped you kind of step into that? Even if it was a different department, you were probably able to see some pretty big setups.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, when my dad was doing it, like in that regard, because by the time I was like 13, he was doing like VFX stuff. So he was honestly all of his stuff was pretty much pre-viz. Like he was at a drafting table.
Okay.
In the but when I was younger, he was doing commercials in the city. So yeah, I would visit sets. But I was like not 6, 7 years old, and like
This is dumb.
well, no, dude, no. These were commercials in the 80s. Like you walked in and it was like a full volcano had been built, and like I mean it was crazy. It was like you're walking into Disney World. It was crazy, but I didn't know. I legit didn't know what a grip electric was. I mean, I think where my old man worked out for me in gripping was that like like when I was young, because he was in the art department, like like if I wanted to, like I got super into knights, and so like he built me like a suit of armor and a shield out of chicken wire, like multiple layers of chicken wire and cardboard. So that like your armor would dent, which is super cool. So I think it was like that sort of mindset of like you can. I mean, you can kind of shitty rig your way into it. It's like that the tools that are in front of you can be used creatively for a purpose. And then also just, because he was in the film industry, I was alone a lot because,
Right.
he was working all the goddamn time.
Yeah.
So I was just left to my own devices, which is like, I used to build a lot of forts when I was a kid, so I think honestly, fort building is really,
That's actually really funny. How I could see how the tie-in to fort building.
One of my first things that I built a zip line with my idiot buddy. And we found like some aircraft cable. We ran it between two trees, and then we took a BMX bike and pulled the front fork off of it, and then pulled the tire off of the fork, and then pulled the tire off of the rim, and then put the fork up through the aircraft cable, and then put the tire back on upside down. So it was like riding on the in between. And then you use the handlebars to fucking zip line down.
It's like from the movie E.T.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
Like the Goonies.
Yeah. So yeah.
It's like Goonies.
The best part is we hadn't considered the ending. So you just zip line directly into a tree.
You have to like bail right before you hit a tree.
Yeah. No, like I was probably like executive producer smart before that, and then treed myself into gripping. For sure. Yeah.
So that was your first time keying, like gripping. When was the first time you were like, oh, like this is like a different level?
Oh, like I know what I'm doing?
Or like it was a shoot where it's like something massive that you had to like,
Oh boy.
some massive overhead or some massive rig that you had to hang that it was like, or car rigs even. Car rigs are
Where the fuck
a
was
whole
my
fucking
first
thing.
car rig? Yeah. It's funny, actually, car rigs came pretty naturally to me. No, they did. It just made sense. Like
It's just you put the wheel in the bucket.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I honestly say like the car rig thing's funny to me too, because like there's all these proprietary car rigs that have gotten built now. The Matthews had the first one, and now there's then there's the Spider, and there's all these other ones. And it's like at the end of the day, honestly, it's just a fucking sandbag and one ratchet strap, and you have a car rig. Like you really do. Like
My absolute favorite. There's a key grip in he started in New York, but he's just got like old pieces of dolly board.
Yeah.
Two glued together, and then he puts some like rubber mat on it, so he can put it on the hood. You strap it down with a couple D-rings, and then you can screw in your cheese plate anywhere you want it.
Yeah, that's great.
It's like it's cool. What kind of car you have doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, no, it's why it's always funny to me, like the big goofy ones. Like you don't need that at all. Like anyway, what was the first big one I did? I don't know. I did my first feature shortly after that short film. Like I probably did my first feature within like 3 months of like keying.
Wow.
Which I definitely was not prepared for. And 100% like nearly killed our lead actor day one.
Oh God.
Yeah, that was a solid learning experience. Yeah, it was day one. It was day one on the feature. We were in, we were shooting on St. Mark's between 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue. And I might be wrong, but I think this movie is actually why you can't shoot on St. Mark's anymore. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's still true. I've heard you can't get a permit on St. Mark's now, and I think our movie was anyway. It was day one. I had a reflector board, sort of 45, back edging our lead in the middle of a busy street at St. Mark's. We didn't have any TCD or lockup or anything because it was a terribly low budget indie. It was actually a pretty fun, ridiculous movie. But someone called for something and I didn't know how to delegate yet, because that's honestly I think the hardest part of keying or gaffing or anything really is learning how to delegate properly. Especially for me at that time, because I didn't know what I was doing, so I was like, I'll just do everything.
Right. It's the trust with that too.
Totally. I mean, it's the trust, but it's literally like no one teaches you how to delegate. No one teaches you how to disseminate information. Disseminate information to a team and trust. Yeah, exactly. And so somebody called for something, and I ran away from the stand without bagging it. And in the 14 seconds that I was gone, someone either knocked into it or a very powerful wind blew, I guess. I don't know. But the stand fell over and hit my lead actor in the head, right in the head. I mean, if it had been a mirror board, he would have definitely been in the hospital. And also, our lead actor was bald for the movie. So just a giant knot on his head. Man. And I'm pretty certain that production tried to fire me that day, but the rate was so low that they couldn't find anyone else to work. So they just kept me on for the run of show.
So it all worked out.
Yeah.
Actually, that brings up a good point. If you were just thrown into this world, or you lied your way into this world, how did you just accept whatever rate somebody said to you, or did you?
Oh, homie, yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, this is 2004, 2005. We were going through that weird transition where, we had stopped sort of making movies on film. The indie juggernaut that had sustained through the 90s had sort of petered out, and everyone was kind of shooting on DV or this is just right before what was that camera, the HVX or whatever.
Yeah,
it was right before that came out. So it was this weird sort of strange time where there wasn't a lot of work. At least as far as I remember. And then I also didn't know anybody, so I didn't have some dude who was calling me up to pay me money to work, as third grip or whatever the hell. So yeah, no, I was taking whatever I could, whatever I could.
Where'd you get your crew? If you came from an art world and you're now a key grip, how do you hire people?
Bus stations,
the Home Depot parking lot,
men's rooms, at dive bars. Where the hell did I get my crew from? I definitely pulled in one of my college buddies who would just come back to the city and was looking for work in a restaurant to be like a sous chef or whatever. Mm-hmm. I was like, you don't want to do that. You should 100% come to the grip world. It's super lot of fun, whatever. So I definitely ruined him for a mess of years. I pulled him in.
Or saved him. I don't think that's a good world either, though.
Oh, no, 100% no. He eventually got his MBA like a smart guy. Got out of this industry. No, I had him, and then I think who did I have? I don't know. I actually don't know how
it's
we got crew back then.
Just a PA that they probably gave you. Or
yeah,
something.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I also used to do I would also do postings on Mandy and stuff, saying I'm looking for a crew, and then you would get film school kids or whatever,
right.
I mean, who's in the same way that all of us sort of wander into this. But yeah, I actually don't know how I got crew for that gig, and it was a crazy job. I can't remember if Eric Bronco was on my team or on the electric team, but I had Bronco, who's gone on to do sort of amazing, huge things. He was my first sort of set husband, was Biko. But yeah, I don't know how I got crew. No clue. Honestly, that going to bus stops and men's restrooms, that might be true. I don't know.
I like the idea of showing up to a key grip job the same way you'd show up as a third and be like, so what are we doing today? I have no idea.
I mean, well, also on those indie films too, that the entire set felt like that.
Totally.
I mean, that movie in particular was pretty funny too, because the DP owned his own 16 mil camera, and so we were shooting 16 mil. But the camera was a Krasnogorsk, which was a Soviet era wartime journalism camera. So it was not designed for feature films. So day one, it's like, okay, roll camera. So as a result, the entire movie was MOS. But it was not meant to be. So like it's I could honestly spend an entire episode talking about that film specifically. That's awesome. That was a real fun one.
So at what point did you start like negotiating your own rate, like deciding like I should probably be asking for this at minimum? Like if you were just taking whatever, like there had to be a point you're like I can't keep taking the $50 jobs. Like I got to take like
it's fair. I mean, honestly, this kind of goes back to like I wish I had come up underneath somebody because like I didn't know you could do that.
Oh, okay.
Like legitimately, like I had no idea that was even an option, like an option on the table for the first. I don't know. I mean, I shudder to think honestly how long I went without realizing that like. You could like negotiate your rate and like, that there was like, per diem or like kit rental or like, I mean, I just didn't know any of that, like at all. Like that was like a real, and again, there wasn't like internet or like, Instagrams or whatever. You could like watch other people do the gig and kind of, get little like subtle clues that, you can ask for stuff, it was, I honestly, I don't know, bud. Probably not that long ago. Like 3 weeks,
Last
maybe.
month,
Exactly. Wait, I'm sorry. I can negotiate, right?
Well, not on this one.
I don't know, man.
It's true.
It was a long time.
I don't even know when I started realizing that either. It's like a thing that someone else on crew just happens to tell you or negotiates for you. At least from my experience.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, like the last time I saw you, that feature was a pretty rugged rate, and like I'm sure I wasn't negotiating my rate on that one. Like,
I was making I think $1.25 for a 12-hour day, but I was working like 14, 16 hours.
Yeah. Well, there's that
OT.
There's that classic like inverse proportion of like rate to work.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like
100%.
the lower you get paid, the more hours you're going to work.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like easily. Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah,
it always works out that way.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I did years and years and years and years and years of indie features. I mean, I would just go back to 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 back. Which, I mean, honestly, my 20s was super fun. I mean, certainly not financially responsible, but like a really good time. I mean, you're at summer camp basically. Yeah. Your entire, you're at work. It's great.
Right.
As long as you don't mind like sharing a room with like another sweaty grip, and like doing 15 hours, like 6 hours upstate, in a field full of lice or ticks or whatever.
Oh gosh.
But yeah, I've done, yeah, but they were fun. I mean, like I got to do a bunch of, all those glass eye picks that I did were a super blast. Like, it was like zombie flicks and vampire movies and, like that was super fun.
Yeah.
That was super, super fun. And you become like, the other thing too about it too is like you get real, like, real tight with your crew. Like my grip guy, I mean, I worked with my best boy, Matthew Christopher. I worked with him for probably a decade, and like, I'm not sure I knew anybody better, or saw anyone more at that, for those 10 years than like, the dudes I worked with on the back of the truck with. Yeah. And you get real tight and there's like a real, kind of like really like beautiful trust. And like, you get to the point where like, you don't even really need to talk,
Yeah.
It's a very lovely marriage,
We call that trauma bonding.
Yeah. Oh, is that, that's the term. Yeah, trauma bonding. But it's real, and it's it can be quite beautiful.
Yeah. I guess third question in the same vein: when did you start building your own kit instead of just showing up and having whatever showed up?
Yeah. I think probably about 3 or 4 years in. Okay. Probably. I mean, honestly, because like it just took that long to get enough jobs that paid me enough where I could actually, buy. I had like extra money.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't living hand to mouth.
Yeah. And they also kind of say like, "Oh, we're gonna do this," and you're like, "Well, I need something bigger than what we've used before."
Yeah. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And I mean, and that's, I never really got into like buying a ton of stuff just because like, one, I have terrible ADD. So like I'm going to lose it almost instantly. I mean, most of my best boy's job, then, and now, is just sort of picking up after me.
Yeah.
Like I'll just leave like a trail of just stuff behind me. It's pretty.
You're like, use the knife, drop the knife.
Oh no, brother! Like once a year, I will buy 6 measuring tapes.
Damn.
Because I know that I'm going to lose 6 measuring tapes without fail. I'm down to my last one on this job. Like I'm down to my last measuring tape. I got to re-up again. But no, like I bought like a slider and I'd like a hostess tray or whatever, and like little stuff. And my best boy at that time had bought a truck of gear.
Okay.
So and then like I would buy stuff and kind of put it on there, and then
You
we'd
knew
rent
what
it
your
out together.
package was going to be going
exactly.
in. Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't just like well, let's see what we got today.
Yeah, no. I mean, and like I don't know. I think it's partially living in New York, and I'm sure once you guys get some LA dudes on here, they're going to be knees deep in gear. But it's like where do you store it? You know what I mean?
Right.
And then when you do find a place to store it, like does the amount of money I'm spending to store this thing exceed the amount of money I'm making?
Right.
And then on top of that, like how much of a pain in the ass is it to get to the storage place and out of the storage place? So there's a little bit of a quality of life. Add in on that money thought line.
Right.
Yeah. So I might not be like the best guy to talk to about like owning gear because like honestly I don't give a shit. Like I don't like.
No, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, so when you're making these like gear lists and stuff, do you have like a standardized thing that you always request, or is it like?
Yeah, because thank God for Matt Tomko. Tomko like made a little website messy years ago called like the lighting list or whatever. And that was huge. Like, because before I'd have to do like little Excel spreadsheets and like he just had like a whole drop down menu thing. It was great. I've got like a standard like commercial, like 2-day commercial list that I have. And then, you kind of like work on it.
Yeah.
And I've got like a standard, like whatever, feature, standard documentary. And I've got standard lists because, by now, like what you need and what you don't need.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
When was your last indie? Or are you done doing indies?
Yeah, a long time ago, brother. That juice did not become worth that squeeze. No, it's been years since. My last indie. It was probably like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was a real weird one to go out on. It was who directed Rain Man? Anybody?
Alan.
Stand by.
He's gonna Google it.
As our God voice comes in.
Yeah.
So you're non-union?
I'm non-union. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're primarily commercials if you're not doing indies?
Yeah. Yeah, primarily commercial. And then weirdly, I've been getting into like food shows.
Barry Levinson.
Oh, nice. Barry Levinson. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, I don't even know if I should tell this story because I'm gonna.
We can cut it if you want.
I don't give a shit. Whatever. No, it's fine. I'm not saying.
We gave him
anything.
the chance.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying anything. No, it was a Barry Levinson. It was a Barry Levinson indie. It was starring Charles Grodin and Al Pacino, with I believe Catherine O'Hara and like Sedgwick, Kevin Bacon's wife. She was in it. It was like this whole weird, like Greta Gerwig was like co-starring.
Damn, stacked cast for an
Wow. So they cast it off Mandy as well, right?
Yeah. It's a fully Mandy. Yeah, full Mandy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Super stacked cast, incredibly but legitimately I lit scenes with Pacino using Bustelo cans with a it's a good shitty rig. I was excellent work, my friend. I see what you're doing. I see what you do. Yeah, we lit that thing with what we call bashers, where it was a Bustelo coffee can, and then we had like a 3/8 16 5/8 baby pin sort of screwed into the base of it, with a porcelain socket and a floodlight in it, with like just diffusion kind of crumpled up and smashed into that. And I was just like rigged on a C-stand.
Oh my
They
God,
make clip lights, you know that, right?
Oh yeah. No, I know, but like I don't know why, but our entire package was like varying sizes of like Bustelo coffee cans. Where it's like we're fucking lighting Dog Day Afternoon. It's like it was
you're like crafty.
Go run down to the bodega, get me another fucking light.
Yeah. No, legitimately. Make more coffee. I need light.
Get the big can this time. The big can.
It was and we shot at Barry's house, which I mean,
that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it was like one of those like it was one of those like classic indie like the fun thing about indie films is like it's always surreal. You've always like wandered into like a Fellini nightmare dream where you're like, wait, what am I doing? You know, like what is happening right now? But yeah, that was my last feature was with Barry and Al Pacino and Greta Gerwig.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Pacino's like a trip to work with too, right? Like I don't know if he was the same with you, but I did a.
He is exactly what you expect him.
We did a TV show.
Whatever you're thinking in your head of working with Pacino is like yes. Okay. It is 100% that.
We did a TV show with him whenever they did the private rehearsal, which is usually like, okay, just clear set.
Yeah.
We cleared the building. Like we were at Steiner. We had to leave the stage.
Oh wow. Okay.
And then they did a private rehearsal, just him and the director, and then we could come back in. There was one day we were shooting like a fight scene with like 4 stunt people. They stopped filming because Pacino came out of makeup. We scrapped everything, shot his scene, and then 6 hours later went back to finish the fight scene.
Oh wow!
It was like he comes in, he works, and he fucking leaves.
Oh
like,
no! I was
I was an
indie with Barry Levinson. So no, you'd be lighting, and like Al would just be sort of wandering around the house,
just lost.
Just kind of like killing time because there was no honey wagon, you know. So he was just kind of like pacing around, and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and be like, "Yeah, no, it's okay, it's okay. Move that C-stand. It's all right."
Yeah. These Bustelo cans up here.
That's good. I like that.
So we had different experiences.
My favorite part on that actually movie was him and Charles Grodin are in a scene where they're in like an SL 450, like a 70s Mercedes, the convertible, and it's a low car, and both Charles and Al at that time, I mean, this was probably 5 or 6 years ago, so they were well into their 70s at this point. So, like getting in and out of that car took a while. So, we did a rehearsal, and then I'm supposed to come in and do I'm supposed to put the hood mount on. So they're like, all right, cut on rehearsal. And I was like, I'm just going to stay in the car if that's okay. So it's like, all right. So now I'm rigging a hood mount while it's just Charles Grodin and Al Pacino just
staring at you.
No, fucking telling stories to each other, which was amazing. Yeah, like Grodin was telling this incredible story about like being at like Alan Ladd's or whoever preceded Johnny Carson. He was at, I think it was Alan Ladd. He was at Alan Ladd's funeral, and not Mickey Rooney, the dude from 60 Minutes from back in the day. I'm dating myself here, but he was given the eulogy, and that guy had been in World War II and as a tail gunner or something, and sort of saw the best and worst of humanity, and as a result had lost his way with God. And during the eulogy, gave a very aggressive, lost my way with God speech. And then Johnny Carson was in the audience. And then Johnny never let him come on the show because I think Johnny was like a pretty devout Presbyterian or something. But these the weird stories that are being shot back and forth. And brother, I took 45 minutes doing a 7-minute car rig. just to let them finish. Dying to hear these stories. Yeah, I'm like, I'm just going to check this. Just going to get this wrench, one more wrench nut. Yeah, can I get another crank on this ratchet strap? It was pretty. that was a pretty good one. But yeah, that was I went out on that. That was my last indie.
That's
and
awesome.
Ever again. No, that's not true. Honestly, I do miss it.
I mean, like you're saying, the camaraderie,
camaraderie's fun.
That doesn't really exist in commercials unless you already know the guys.
Look, but fucking none of us got into the film industry so we could make pharmaceutical commercials. You know what I mean? The money's good, but it's there's not it's not a lot of soul rewarding going on there. You know what I mean? No. I do miss the feature film world. And if one came along, if there was a train movie in New Mexico or
Mike's gonna call you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You're like, fuck, I shouldn't have answered.
Yeah. Or if Lukens was doing a movie upstate, maybe I would do it. Lukens, you didn't give me a fucking call for that, bud. Weird. I thought we were cool.
Well, he's just doing the thing that you did. He's he's trying not to use his connections.
Well, except for Smokey ADing.
Except for Smokey ADing.
I could do crafty, bro. You could throw me into a weird one.
He just brings all his guys in and then doesn't have them do anything.
That they're good at. Yeah. Actually, that's the actual movie.
Well, that's interesting, is because there's a lot of people that do G&E and they kind of bounce back and forth. But you definitely don't do any electric.
I mean, I gaff. Like I will gaff, but no, I hate electricing. I hate being electric. I don't
just the.
I'm going to wind up speaking derogatorily about the department, and I don't want to. Yeah. No. There's nothing interesting about it to me. And also, like, I don't like touching cable full of dog piss too much. So, you know.
Yeah. No,
That's how you know you're in New York.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I was in New York, I gripped. Going back to New England, they brought me into the electric world, but that's what I do now. But in New York, we called it gutter butter. There's no dry gutter in New York. No, and that's where the cable sits.
No, I also think I might have been like poisoned because, like, I mean, when I was first coming up, like, there weren't LEDs and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it was like, like Maxi Brutes and Ultra Dinos and shit. So you're humping just endless amounts of just excruciatingly heavy cable.
Right.
So electric to me just seems like back pain and like dog piss. Like I don't like none of that seems
and I mean,
fun to me.
Honestly, now it's just become more of like a computer science degree, sort of, with the DMX cabling.
Cool. So I went from back pain to just stone cold nerd.
Yeah. Grip hasn't really. I mean, have you seen a big change in grip, minus like a couple diffusions coming out that are different, or?
No, those like the dumb CLRS things.
Yeah, what do you think
the
about
reflectors?
those?
You can buy them off of Amazon for $20. Like, I don't understand.
Oh, they cost $180, and you'll pay that.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't, like, it's a pizza box with a Hampshire on it. I don't know. Like,
I've been trying to figure out like what I see, like what it does, but I'm like trying to figure out like why I would ever want that.
Yes, I don't mean to get a bunch of hate from CLRS people, but yeah, it's just like and you have to be so gentle with them, and like got to be careful, and it's like that's not grip gear.
That's the other
grip
thing.
gear. I should be able to like kick down a flight of stairs. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
100%.
That's just nonsense to me.
I had a friend who had one on set, and he's like, I just bought these. They're so awesome. He's like, he's setting them up. He's like propping them, and then he like has it in his stand. It falls out of the stand and just shatters.
Oh, God.
And I was like, you had that for like 20 minutes, and you broke
it. Yeah, like. I mean, and legitimately, you can go on Amazon and buy a 1x1 square of aluminum, and it's like you can get brushed aluminum and slightly less brushed aluminum.
I've thought about this multiple times. I'm like, pizza pans, man, like just like.
No, I mean that's
perfect.
But
I think is
it one of those things where that little tag in the corner that says the brand name gets you the higher rental?
Yeah, well, no,
that's all it is.
I 100% understand that, but it's just like, if it weren't so fragile.
Yeah.
It just seems like a silly piece of grip gear being that fragile. That is not what we do.
There's a guy on my crew who his favorite, a group of crows is called a murder. Mm-hmm. He says a group of grips is called a crash.
Oh yeah, crash grips. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. That's his thing. It's
I believe that's also the term for hippos.
Hippos or rhinos. It's one of those. So it's like giant, large, giant animals. That's what's gonna.
Yeah, there's coming in. There's indoor grips and outdoor grips. We come in two sizes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you definitely don't bring those outdoor grips into Sotheby's or anything.
No, that's you can hear them coming. It's
It is rhinos.
Yeah,
it's rhinos. A crash of rhinos.
It's a bloat of hippos.
A bloat. Okay.
Oh, that's great. Bloat. Yeah, there we go. That makes sense.
Yeah, we need that for every department.
So in these like commercial jobs, do you have any like crazy rigs that you've had to develop, or does most of that come from the indie world where you're like sort of limited with gear? Like, do you see a correlation between indie world and shitty rigs? More obviously, but does it like bleed into commercial world, or it just doesn't exist because you could just get whatever you want?
No, I mean, I think like insofar as like rigging goes, no, there's kind of like at that point you do have all the proper tools and like, and like also at that point, like, you're doing 40 by overheads with box truss and chain motors and stuff, and like that you're not like, your margin for error and dicking around is sort of zero at that point. Like it's bigger and there's more money, and it's you're getting dangerous now. Or I mean,
it's totally dangerous. Yeah.
So no, like you're no longer stringing shit up with like trick line and stuff. But I will say that like I do think that it benefits. I do think that there's a benefit in coming from the indie world because like it's the problem solving ability that comes from that I think it does still benefit you, like in commercials. You know, like, oh, you're like, oh, how are we gonna do this? It's like totally impossible. You're like, well, if we just, you know, got a thing here and just, you know, fired an 18K into it or whatever, like you can get the bounce. You don't have to, like, we'll be okay without a breezy, you know, or whatever. Like there is, I mean, I'm doing a bad example of that, but it definitely does benefit you, or I've found it beneficial to have come from that world. Just in like, you know, you're sort of automatically always thinking outside the box, even if you don't realize that you are.
Yeah.
You know, because you didn't come from like a rigid, you know, dogmatic sort of, you know, mindset. So I found it useful there, but no, like like you build a 12 by that way, you know, each time, and you build, like there's only one way to do it. Although, man, I did just do a commercial where like, no, I mean, but honestly, the helpful thing, honestly, is kind of learning to say no too. Like I just did a commercial.
A big thing.
That's a huge thing. That's a huge thing, and that I think comes from like just experience and confidence. You know, it's like at some point you stop being insecure, you know, and then and that allows you to be like, no, we're not doing it that way. Like it's like, and I'm not worried about like losing my job or, you know, whatever. And I mean, let's be honest. Like half the fun of being a key grip, even from the jump, was that you get to say no. Like that is a like just super amount of awesome power, you know. But no, like I was doing a job the other week where like the request was to do a 20 by softbox with like six 6K space lights, rigged on box truss up on Long John Silver's. Like that was the request, because it was like, well, the director doesn't really know where they want to have the set, so we need to be able to be mobile. And like I was like that seems super dumb. And then I did the math, you know, like Long John is like 262 pounds or whatever, you know, max weight, and then, you know, it's whatever the hell, it's like 60 pounds per 20 feet of box truss or what. I mean, I'm probably getting the numbers wrong, but I'm in the wheelhouse. And then, you know, and then you figure, you know, the amount of like Sacco cable going up to the space lights, and then how much a space light weighs, and then, you know, like, you know, and like we were within, I think, 48 pounds of maximum, you know, weight capacity on these stands.
Yeah.
And that's assuming like an even dispersion of weight, you know what I mean? But like wherever that Sacco waterfalls is taking, you know, way more weight than that one. So it's like, and then my one point of failure, like if that goes, then the whole 40 by falls this way, and then all of that collapses, you know? So that was one of the ones where I was like, no, we're not doing it that way. He's like, well, but the director wants it this way. And it's like, yeah, but I don't care. We're not doing it that way. Like we're rigging this in the ceiling with chain motors, and like we're, you know, just, or like the creative's going to have to change.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yes,
do you get that a lot where like people are like asking you for like specific ways to do it? And it's like, it seems like when you're hiring
in the fashion world, in the fashion world, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that they wouldn't say, this is what we're interested in, how would you do it?
Yeah.
It's weird that they would come with an idea when it's not their world.
I found that it happens in the fashion world just because like you're a lot of the times the directors in the fashion world are the photographers themselves. They come from a photo world, and they have a way that, you know, like photo gear is way lighter. So like the way that they would have approached that with strobes would have been that way.
Right.
And like that sort of makes sense. Like, you know, you're just doing packs and strobes. Like I could see how you could build that rig and it would be safe. But we're doing, you know, we're now doing, you know, actually I think we were shooting film for that one. So we're shooting film. So like we, you know, there's a certain amount of stop that we now need. So we need lights this big in order to maintain that stop, because, you know, we're not using strobes and, you know, shutters and, you know, open shutter on a camera. So yeah, so they come to you being like, well, this is how we did it. You know, this is how we did the photo campaign, you know, the last time we did it. It's like, that's cool, but we're now, you know, shooting 35 mil, God, what the fuck were we shooting? We're shooting like Tri-X 35 mil. I mean, I think we were.
Oh, so you were probably like.
Oh, dude, we were at 200. We were at 200 ASA,
160 somewhere. In
200 ASA at one. Yep, and then, you know, and then I'm sure we were using some like sexy old, you know, Cook Anamorphics or something that, you know, or, you know, like
slow as shit.
Yeah, like F8, you know, like just a pinhole, you know. Yeah. So no, so I think with that one, it's just that it's just different languages. So they just don't know what they're, you know. I don't think they don't mean to be, telling me my job, but it's just that like, oh, when we did it last time, this is how we did it, and we really liked the fact that we could kind of roll the the entire rig around.
Yeah.
So let's just do that again. You're like, yeah, but we're not. That's an entirely different job. Entirely different parameters and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's funny. We did. So the last job I was on, they just did a stunt rig with 2 Roadrunners, and I was looking at it. I was like, you're gonna hang a guy from 2 Roadrunners? And it's like I was like in the back of the room, just kind of like waiting for it to come out so that I could take a picture of it. And they ended up never using it because the guy could like do the thing without it.
Yeah.
But I was like, who thought this was a good idea?
I personally hate box truss on crank stands.
I
hate it. I'm never happy about it. I mean, I understand that like it's just that you have the potential for catastrophe is right there.
Yeah.
And if it goes, it's going to be so bad.
Well, and it's you don't know how old the stands are, who you got them from. Like 220 on a Roadrunner, 260 on a long john. That's brand new.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like if this is a 12-year-old stand,
been banged around in the back
like
of
an
trucks
18K. Like I've seen 18Ks just slowly get lower and lower and lower throughout the day.
Yeah, that makes me. I personally don't like putting box truss on crank stands. Yeah. I'm not a fan.
What is stopping the crank stand from sagging? Like,
Wizards.
is it geared?
It's wizards.
Wizards.
Yeah, wizards.
So the older they get, that makes sense.
The wizards die off, and there's less of them.
Magic,
There's
man,
less of them in there, and
It's like he doesn't. He's like, why do I have to explain this?
It's all things through the power of Christ.
Is that what you read in the key group manual?
That was page 4 in Yuba's book. After he mentioned that he worked on California with Brad Pitt, was that there's wizards and crank stands.
Total sidebar.
Yeah. That was, by the way, a deep cut on the California Brad Pitt book for anyone who's actually read that, because he does mention it like 6 or 7 times.
Oh God.
that's funny.
But shout out to Yuba, hand of God. No one affected my life more than Michael Yuba's book, because I wouldn't be gripping. I wouldn't have had any idea what I was doing.
Does he still put those books out?
I have no idea.
I think he does. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you guys got the 8th edition, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a book.
Don't you have a poster?
somewhere.
Yeah.
There's one somewhere.
I think it's next door. You want to try to find it?
It might be in the bookcase.
You have it at your house?
Oh, you took it home?
Oh, he took it home.
He's studying it. He was
He's
coming for my job.
Talking about the crank stands on box truss. There's limits to everything.
Oh yeah.
So, is there something that you've done previously where you're like, I will never fucking do this again, besides crank stands on box truss?
Well, not bagging a stand and running away from it.
Right.
That's day one of gripping.
Literally.
Literally. Yeah, but yeah. Oh shit, man. I don't know. I've probably forgotten more terrible things than like most people have done. No.
Or is there something that you see people do and you're like, no?
Well, no, because I'm the key.
Well, I mean, because
Well, like, how long did it take you to learn righty tighty?
That was in the Yuva book, man.
Okay.
That's in the Yuva book.
Okay.
So that was day one.
Yeah.
Hand to God, that might have been the only thing I knew showing up to set day one was just like make sure the weight's going with the handle. I mean, dude, that same job that I dropped the stand on the guy. Because it's an indie film, so everyone's kind of jumping in each other's department. We had to put an array of maxis on the buildings across the street from set, and I mean like probably 6 maxis on 6 different buildings on the Lower East Side, and we were running power from the street up the side of the building. So by the 6th one, like, do you really want to carry another 100 amp 50-foot stick of baits? No. So we were like, oh, what we'll do. This is so dumb. Never do this. So we went up on the building and we just dropped sash, just like number 10 sash or whatever the hell, off the 6 stories of a building, and then just like started pulling the baits up and then plugging it in and then continuing to pull. And at first, it's super light.
Yeah.
And then you have 6 stories of baits where you like it's just 3 dudes just like
God.
and we were like 6 feet from the top, and I suddenly was like, wait, what's the tensile strength of this rope? You know what I mean? Like, and it's like yawing over the corner of like old brick, just fraying itself. And we again didn't have TCD, and it's St. Mark's and it's the summer, so I mean just fully crowded street. And I had that moment of like, oh my God, like if this breaks, we're going to kill somebody. And like, I mean, much like that dude in the eulogy lost God, I found God so instantly in that moment. Like I was like, please, Lord, like don't let this rope break. And I mean, that was one where I was like, all right, I can never do anything. Like that was a moment where it was like, it doesn't matter if it's like if it's too heavy or like you're tired or, you just want to be lazy. Like you can't be doing shit like this. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter. Like you got to just sack up and like carry the fucking cable up the stairs because like you will kill somebody.
Yeah.
Like this job is very. I mean, while I was right in that time too. Actually, on that movie was when those NYU kids got zapped on the Condor and the best boy was killed on that. That was literally the same like that summer.
Wow.
So it was like that was a definite like, oh, what we're doing isn't like little children's shit. Like this is grown up stuff, and like there is a responsibility specifically within our department, both grip and electric, that what we're doing is dangerous and can have very real world consequences. And like so like as fun as it is to like be on the back of the truck, like LOLs and grab ass and whatnot. And I mean that in a non-offensive way, but you're just dicking around with your buddy. Consensual grab ass. Making jokes and fucking around. That when it is time to do your job and be on set, that like you do have to pay respect and be present for your job while you're on set, and especially as department head too. So like that was like nearly killing that dude like day one was actually kind of a weird blessing, like because I think I could have gone 5 years without doing that and I might not have had the same sort of awareness of like what could happen. And then the fear of getting fired was very real too, and then the fact that I wasn't fired was like, okay, like this is kind of a like I actually have to button shit up now. And I mean that job was pretty crazy, but like I think since then I've had a very healthy respect of the dangers of the gig, to the point where like I think I don't like doing fly swatters on condors, and that's the thing that gets asked.
I've heard about you talk about that sometimes. Yeah.
Is that
not really
what was
something
the
you're supposed to do?
Yeah,
right?
what was the NYU thing?
Oh, sorry. For context, there was I might be sort of getting some of the details wrong, but there was an NYU short film that was shooting down south. I want to say in Georgia. Okay. I'm not entirely sure exactly. And they were doing a condor rig. It wasn't even a condor rig. I think they had like a 4K or something, an HMI on the bucket. And it had been rain. It was Florida in the summer, so it was crazy humid. And you're supposed to be 20 feet distance from high tension power lines, but that's on a dry day. And so they were the Condor got within 40 or 30 feet of high tension lines, and the high tension line arced into the bucket of the Condor. There was a guy on the Condor bucket. He was fine. It traveled, as I understand it traveled down the HMI, like down the feeder cable, then hit the box. And just unfortunately at that moment, I believe the best boy was like plugging the box in, and it just jumped out, went into the ground, and kind of fired through him.
Oh man!
And dropped. I mean, he did not make it.
Yeah, that's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was. I mean, they were like. I mean, we were. We were all probably about the same age, but I mean, they were kids. I mean, they were students. You know what I mean? Like, and like that shit. I mean, it happens a lot. Like a lot. Like every year, like a couple of grip electrics like eat it. Like it just it's not. We do dangerous shit.
Yeah. And it's not. I mean, it doesn't even have to be from exterior gear. Like our 18K lights. Like the amount of energy that's flowing through those. Like we were. Something happened a couple weeks ago, and I think we had the light, our riggers didn't, so we had to rig the lift ourselves. And it's like, it's been 5 years since I've been on a rigging crew. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I haven't tied a head cable up recently. Mm-hmm. So it's like, there happened to be somebody that I know normally rigs on our grip crew. And I was like, hey man, I'm stealing you to be an electric for like 10 minutes. Come over here, make sure that we're putting enough slack, doing all this stuff. Cause we've been on sets before where somebody didn't get enough slack and like the head cable just gets sheared.
Yeah, sure.
And then what the fuck are you supposed to do then?
Yeah, like, well, you got a live line on a metal stick, that's like grounding itself through your box. Yeah, no, it's yeah. So I mean, I don't know that. I mean, yep. I don't know. My best boy was for a long time was a Marine. a combat vet Marine, and like he was always like, 2 is 1, 1 is none kind of thing. Like that redundancy is important. Like have other people check your shit. Like,
does he say at least we're not getting shot at a lot?
Yeah.
We have an Army guy that he says that all. He's like, hey, if that guy's being a dick, at least he's not shooting at us.
I remember I was getting real haired up on a gig, and like my man came up to me. He was like, "Hey, no one's shooting at you," and I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a fair point. I'll copy that. Copy shutting the fuck up." You're right. I am. Yeah. I'm getting a little tight britches here. I don't like doing fly swatters on condors at all. Like that's not what they're designed to do. Like if you actually do the math, I think it's like 20 mile an hour of wind hitting a 12 by something like, I mean, again, I'm firing numbers off, but I'm not too far. I was like 4,000 pounds.
Yeah. Every studio has its own, which is really interesting too. Because if you're working for Paramount, you're allowed to do more or less than Netflix, which it makes no sense.
I'm at this point in my career, like if we're doing like, anything over a 12 by or whatever, it's a telehandler. Mm-hmm.
I just quick note: a lot of non-G&E people watch this. Am I just explaining like what a fly swatter is?
Sorry, excellent. Apologies. What psychopathic non-G&E person watches this? This sort of sadistic bastard.
Our sound episode did really well.
Yeah. Okay. Right on. Dig. So a fly swatter is a lot of times you'll be asked to do an overhead for day exteriors. To cut the sun or diffuse the sun, and you'll be asked to build a 12 by or occasionally a 20 by. How do I put this? So you have the bucket of a condor, which is a man lift, generally an articulating arm or a straight arm man lift, and then you will rig 90 degrees off of it, in, I guess, would that be perpendicular? Off of the rig, an overhead 20 by that comes straight off the end of the bucket, and then you rig supports back up. We can share. I'll share a picture of a fly swatter with you guys.
I have some too. Yeah,
you can take a look at it. And it's just it makes me nervous because a lot of condors are only rated to 500 pounds weight, or maybe you'll get 1,000 pound weight capacity thing, but. I mean, that's not what they're designed to do. And then 2, like once you start, once you're 20 feet off from the nodal point of the bucket, like that weight out there is way more than like a 20-foot piece of, speed rail weighs, 2 pounds. But, 20 feet out, you're now at like 40 pounds, and then if wind, if downward wind hits it, like you now have an enormous amount of weight coming down on a thing that's not designed to do.
Yeah.
And then what that thing's going to do is then either fail and fall down like it did on that job there was that gig where that actress got hit in the head with a fly swatter because that's exactly what happened, or the condor falls over, which is what happened with that Moonbox in LA 2-3 years ago on that Netflix job. There was like a 65-foot
just fell.
Well, it was 65 feet. It was in Burbank or Pasadena or something.
It just fell on a house.
And there was like 20 mile an hour winds, and it caught it, and then it just fell on a house.
Yeah, nobody was in that one though.
Thank God.
That's
also no one was in the living room.
That's the thing. The upside to fly swatters is unless it's moving, nobody rides in it. If there's a light in a lift, there's usually an operator in there.
Sure, but my feeling with a lot of that stuff is like, oh, well, we do it all the time. It's like, yes, you do it all the time, but like that doesn't mean that it's not possible to happen. And then when it does happen, it is going to be catastrophic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or can be catastrophic. So like, I don't necessarily agree with the idea of like, this is fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So what you asked, like, because at least in IATSE, JLG and Genie have created a list of rules like specifically for rigging their lifts that only our industry is allowed to follow. And our union, I'm not sure about the other parts of the country, but we take a class. And you're not supposed to be one of the people that does anything with these lifts unless you are a certified rigger. And we are the only people that have like the certification. But along your same lines, it doesn't mean it's safe. No. It's
It also doesn't mean that doesn't happen. Like, I mean, there's like these NYU kids. I mean, I guarantee they weren't
they could
lift
walk
certified.
past. How many sets are in New York right now? It's like they could walk past one, see it, be like, I can do that.
Yeah. But now it's even more. I mean, now you're just on Instagram. You're like, I want this. Like,
But also to your point, you're
Thanks,
saying
shitty rigs.
Although I don't think anyone's rigging something.
There are a lot of things that
We don't have a lot of like condor lift rigs on our page.
There are a lot of things that we
buddy.
we also choose to not post a lot of things for very specific reasons.
Yeah, of course.
But to your point, like the telehandlers, like lulls and magnies, like those are we use those so much more often now. Like even
Buddy,
for
I
light
used a
boxes,
Magni for the first time this winter.
it's insane.
Oh my god, I'm never
it like
going back.
quadruples your
that?
weight. So
So a Magni,
gigantic fucking
Yeah, Magni is it's a tele. So a telehandler is an extendable arm forklift.
It's like a Technocrane, right, with a forklift.
Yeah. It's like a Mad Max looking thing. It's it's a beefy. It's got beefy cage with big old super heavy tires, and it has outrigger front arms that lift it off the ground that then increase its weight capacity, and then the fork extends. What a Magni is, which is amazing, is it's that except the turret rotates. So you now have because the limitation with the telehandlers and a lot of the reasons people use condors instead is that you have a lot more of articulation with a condor. A condor, you have full 360 of the turret. You then also have articulating arms, so the arm bends in 3 different places if it's an AJ, and then the bucket itself can rotate. So and tilt as well. So there's a lot of it's like a magic arm, but as a lift. But the new Magnis, these new they're 14,000 pound weight capacity. They turret rotate. You can also get them so that the forks can actually rotate.
Oh, wow.
There's 270.
There's 8 different attachments you can put on the end of the bucket. You just have to know which one you want to.
Yeah,
order.
You've got a big claw you can put on it.
There's one that
I-beam.
There's one that you can turn it into a condor. You can ride in the basket.
you can put it in a bucket,
You control it from a bucket, and you're 180 feet in the air.
It's so
nuts.
neat. Oh, it's the neatest
They're
goddamn thing.
huge.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. It's super cool.
And those you could do.
I'll send you some
fly
pictures.
swatter off of.
Yes, I did a 40 by 20 moon box off of the thing.
Huge.
Yeah, well, made out of mod truss.
Mod truss is great too. That's new. That's probably one of the newest grip things that I've seen.
I noticed that you guys on this thing are like, oh, is there any gear out there you like that's super neat? Mod truss. That is my new neat thing that I like.
Just explain.
What is it?
Before you, the only thing, how big are your hands?
That is yes with a but. Yes with a but. I can actually explain that one. What mod truss is I believe it's out of Wisconsin or Milwaukee. Milwaukee. I think it's out of Wisconsin. It is aluminum, 6-inch aluminum box, sort of billeted. That you use the same way that you would box truss. It's smaller and I think a third as heavy with roughly the same tensile strength, or the same strength as box truss. So like building this 40 by 30. It was like a hexagonal thing. I'll send you a picture. You guys can put it on the line. But when I was doing the weight, when I was working out the weights on it, I tried to build it out of box truss, and I just kept exceeding the weight. It just wasn't safe. And I was in San Francisco. It gets windy there. You have to be. It's a lot of things. And then I designed it out of mod truss, which by the way, mod truss has every single it's box truss, but then they also make hinges. They make pick points. It was clearly designed by someone who does what we do for a living, because it's all the if only there was a piece that did this, that exists.
They have a 1-foot version too, so if you do need to do the bigger,
they have a 6-inch cube. Yeah, it's super neat. Oh no, they have 6-inch and 12-inch. They do, but all of their stuff is on SketchUp. Every single stupid little piece, down to the bolts and the washers, are on SketchUp. So I legit just built the whole goddamn thing out of mod truss, and then knew how much it was going to weigh, and then figured out what the capacity of the Magni was, and then what its arm, over the arm length, and then if I added wind in, it was neat. Mod truss is super cool. To your point, the one drawback with mod truss is that the way that it's sort of billeted out, it has a kind of a 4-leaf clover sort of design cut out of the mid, every 6 inches. It has a little 4-leaf clover design cut out, and then there's the 4 bolt holes. The 4-leaf clover design is basically big enough for a turn of the century English child factory worker to get their hand in. It just scrapes the absolute hell out of your hands trying to get to put the bolts in, unless you use a 12-inch impact driver extender and a one of those, whatever the hell this thing is for the socket wrench. Yeah. Then it's fine.
But yeah, it's a new piece of equipment that like you're like,
there's a lot of cursing that goes before you figure all of that out. Like a lot of cursing, because that is not what they send the kit with. It's like a simple crescent wrench and a socket wrench.
Right.
And you're like, how do I get my?
I need that 13-year-old.
Yeah.
You have the team of rhinos showing up trying to punch their way through this 6-inch hole, and it's not.
And like I'm definitely a slenderer built grip than most grips for sure. So yeah, like it was, and even for me, it was a lot of like cursing at the goddamn thing until I figured out how to use it correctly. But the weight capacity, or the how light that thing is, and then how modular and the amount of stuff you can do with it, that's been like a new piece of gear that I'm like, oh, this yes.
Yeah, this will catch on.
I quite like this. Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Nice.
And it's strong as shit too.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot more math and just that how you're calculating all of these things that I necessarily didn't take into account.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, when you're flying.
I guess, when you're looking at gripping from a distance, when you don't understand it.
No, for sure.
You're just like, those guys are just fucking.
Bunch of knuckle draggers.
Yeah. Are you good at math? Does math like naturally just work in your brain, or was that like, I don't know, something you had to work harder on?
I don't know. That's sort of like asking how a person sees color. I don't know if I'm good at math.
Not necessarily, because I feel like if you're better at writing or math. I feel like your brain kind of works in one of two ways. Like, I know I'm better at writing than I am at math. I know Mike is better at math.
Way better at math than writing.
Yeah,
I'm good. I mean, I think I'm decent at both. I'm good at what I think the electrics would call paper amps. I'm good at doing paper amps. Like I can round up, what the number is going to be, like very quickly. I can figure out like roughly what this is going to weigh and what the distance on that is. I'm not doing like advanced trigonometry, in what I'm doing. It's like there's these many things, they weigh this much, it's going to be this high off the ground. It's like there's nothing that should be what's the word I'm looking for? You shouldn't be dissuaded from gripping if you have a dyslexia with math. It's
dyslexia.
It's also like it's not the third's job.
No, it's definitely not the third
thing.
step.
It's like there needs to be one guy that's good at that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that would be your key rigger. Would be sort of ideally, the guy to do that. But yeah, I mean, like I think once you get to a place where like you are able to tell production you need a Magni, you have to do some fucking math.
Yeah, exactly. To sell them on the idea that you need.
Yeah, but also so you're not killing anybody. Like it like that is important too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, like I don't. It wasn't. Yeah, I'm pretty good at quick math.
There you go. I was just wondering because it was like it sounded like it all came so naturally to you. So I wonder how much of that, like being good at math, played into that as well. Right? There's some natural talent there.
Yeah, again, like you do it long enough, you start to like meet people who are like riggers and like who've done rigging, and you get to a point where you're not. Where like you're secure enough to like ask questions and be like, hey, I don't know anything. Like, tell me, like, just tell me. And then you listen and you learn and, you work with guys who are better at it than you eventually. Or hopefully off the bat, if you don't lie your way in like an asshole. Like if you pay attention, I mean, it's like this job. I mean, every job in the film industry is an apprenticeship. And if you're lucky, you work with people who are really good at it, and you pay attention and you ask questions, and you learn, and then you get better at it. Like it's honestly it's a really fun part of the film industry is the artisan craft of it. Like it takes a fucking long time to get good at it, and it's always funny. I mean, I don't know if I'm getting to be an old man or if it's just I'm probably just becoming an old man. But like it just seems like a lot of the youngins that are coming on set, like they're coming on, they're like, hot, like I'm gonna just do this for a year and then I'm gonna be a DP or whatever. And it's like that's not how that fucking works. And it shouldn't be how it works. Like you do it for like 10 years, and you get your ass absolutely handed to you for about the first 5, and then eventually you get good at it, and then if you're lucky you get to jump up. But it is an artisan craft. It's like it's like blacksmithing or fucking baking or anything. It's an art form. Even the below the line shit is. I mean, it's all an art form. Like being good at sound, or being a good AC, like if you've watched a good AC work, Jesus Christ, is it amazing?
Yeah, no, it's
Holy shit! Like if you work with a dude who's good at focus pulling, it is the craziest thing on the planet. Like where they're like triangulating in real time, like just
especially when you get up past like the 135 level and they're like pulling at that level.
We were just
You're
having this conversation about how like sometimes the B first has the harder job because the A first, it's like, okay, it's a little bit more prestige. They might be working more often, but if you're on like a 50, like 5-6 the whole show, and then
and no one gives a fuck about your marks. You know what I mean?
B cams on like a 150, doing like the tight with like fully wide open. You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
That's what 1AC described to me as chasing cobras. Or just like trying to like
Chasing cobras. That's good.
Yeah.
There's a rig that I wanted to ask you about so the indie feature that you and I worked on together years ago. I remember we were working in the Lower East Side. It wasn't on St. Mark's, so it wasn't the same.
Nope.
Indie.
I told you you're not allowed to film there anymore.
But I remember.
Don't fact check me on that.
I was working as a key PA on this, and I'm pretty sure you were the key grip on it. And at one point, we had to shoot on the second floor of like a 3 or 4 story walk up, and of course, they wanted a Fisher dolly up on the whatever floor we were shooting on, and you guys had to build something on the stairs to it was basically a pulley system.
Oh yeah, homie. Yeah,
on some boards, and you guys were pulling a Fisher dolly.
That was the Girls in Trouble, right?
Yes. So I always wondered, like, how the fuck did you guys even think to?
So that was they.
Yeah, talk me through that first. Talk me through that request, and then talk me through what you ended up having to do to get that dolly up there.
Yeah. That's the thing where like, we need the Fisher 10 upstairs. You're like, do you? Like, are we doing like a compound move with a boom? And it's like, no, we're just kind of tracking in through the living room. You're like, so doorway dolly? And they're like, no, Fisher 10. And you're like, no, but what you're saying is they're Fisher 10s. Fuck. Okay. So yeah, we had to carry a Fisher 10 up 2 or 3 flights of stairs. And I can't remember the first part of that carry, like the Lower East Side apartments, especially like the old Dutch ones, have very, very narrow staircases. Because they were old tenement buildings back in the day when they built it was sort of low income housing at the turn of the century, so they didn't give a shit about your elbow room. So there was a super narrow staircase, and it went up like 5 stairs, and then it turned like immediately 90 degrees, and then went up another 15 feet or whatever. And because of the narrowness of it, we could only 2 people could like sort of fit end to end. And we're carrying a Fisher 10, which I think is like 430 pounds. And it's an indie film, so none of us are eating a lot. So like we couldn't. You couldn't actually. That's what it was. Because of the 90-degree turn and the way that the hallway worked, you couldn't keep the can openers and the back carrying handles on the Fisher at the same time. So you couldn't turn that corner, or you could have, but you would have had to turn the dolly vertical and
pivot.
You're not paying me enough to do that. So what we figured is we could hump it up the first 5 stairs, and then we could like in rounding mode turn the dolly like facing now upwards up the stairs, but then we couldn't get the ass handles back in, or the can openers, frankly. So what we did is we had 2 2x12s that were like 12 feet long or whatever the length of the thing was. So we just laid them down on the staircase, and then Maddie, my best boy, had his like rock climbing gear on him. So we set a pick point. Oh, there was a door at the top of the stairs. So we opened the door and then put a piece of speed rail across the frame of the door, that was wider than the door, and then used that as our pick point. And then Maddie did a Z line, and then like 2 dudes so Maddie became he was on belay. So in case we let go, he could stop the dolly from coming back down on us. So he was the belay point. So he was hooked into the speed rail, and then he had the belay point down the stairs, and then 2 dudes were behind him because it was a Z line, because we were doing a little Archimedes there. So they would start yanking, and then I was on the bottom, and then once I could get behind the dolly enough, I could start pushing. So then so we just sort of slowly hoisted the dolly up those 15 steps, and then got it up there and then turned it around and
How many flights did you do that?
Oh no, just this one.
Oh, okay.
After that, the staircase became like tenable for getting it up.
Got it.
And frankly, actually no, that was the only flight we had to get to. It was 1.5 flights up.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
So it was really just that bottom part.
Yeah. At that same apartment, I had to hurricane-proof the exterior softbox that we built because a hurricane blew through that week, and I'd built this giant softbox outside, and we were like 2 and 2, maybe. You know what I mean? So I was like, I'm not taking this thing down.
So when you got the dolly,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
when you got the,
Yeah, I hope you guys have enough tape because I could do this for 4 more hours. Yeah.
because that is just an incredible amount of work to get it up there.
Yeah, there was a lot of
When it
cursing
was
going
up
on.
there,
Yeah. How much did we use it? Not that much.
That's the kind of like you said, like people think they're going to be 1 year, there'll be a DP or something. But that kind of shit is when you realize where the DP came from.
Yeah.
Like, because there are so many different tracks to get up there. We had one that came up through Key Grip, and he was our DP.
Yes. Only worked for DPs who came up through Grip
A
Electric.
dolly never. It could be 2 steps. Never went up it because he was like, butt dolly.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like it was
Or
just
use a doorway dolly.
Yeah,
or
never
a slider
fucking need
or
it.
anything.
Never
yeah.
need it.
other million things that exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that and that yes, that DP I believe came through the camera department. So there was a disconnect.
A little bit of a pretentious.
No, it's just you don't even know what you're asking for. You know what I mean? And like you don't understand that like on a 2 and 2 indie film, like you're burning your crew. You know what I mean? Like it's not really tenable, and you have to like sort of pick your battles there. You know,
Right.
Do the old cheap, fast, and good triangle. You know.
How do you feel about DPs who noodle? They get in there and they try to want to help you move that dolly.
Oh no, that's. I don't.
big no-no.
I don't know the answer to that question. That's not a. Yeah, that's
Walk.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm not. Yeah, like this is my department.
Yeah.
like, this is my purview. You know, like I'm not going over there and like twiddling with the sound knobs. You know, like,
Panning their camera.
yeah,
back and forth.
I'm not. Yeah.
Wait, so how'd you get? So was it the same process to get the dolly out?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh God.
Yeah, no. We just fucking open up the window and just kind of fucking kick it out.
just
It makes
took
the
the
turn
rope
by
and off
itself
the
on the way down.
Yeah, no, that was
Right?
dude. That job. I forgot about that job. On that same day, the electric accidentally put diesel into the 6500 amp Honda, and then was told, "Oh, you can't do that." So then just dumped the generator out on the street, on the Lower East Side. Just dumped all the diesel fuel out on the street. Yeah, and then I had to go to the bodega and buy
smoked right over it.
pretty much. Luckily, it was diesel, so it's okay. That's
Yeah,
non-explosive.
it doesn't
By the way, diesel is non-explosive, guys. If you're gonna do any pyro, do not use unleaded; it'll explode. No, so I had to buy a cat litter. I had to buy a bag of cat litter, which is good for soaking up gas.
Why is that your job?
Because the
Safety.
yeah, well, it's partially safety and partially because the electric who did it got yelled at so aggressively that like they kind of ran away in tears, and no one was there to do it, and so
So now it's just a 2 crew, not a 2 and 2.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a 2 and 1. Yeah, so yeah, and I had to, yeah. We might have been 3 and 3 on that job. I can't remember, but it was pretty light. It was a pretty light gig. I fucking totally forgot.
I remember.
That.
I remember
fucking forgot
tie-ins
about
on that job too. Yeah.
Another reason I know electric is tie-ins.
Yeah, tie-in.
Which no one is legally supposed to do ever. You're supposed to get.
We have licensed electricians.
You're supposed to have a licensed electrician. That's who does. That's the only people that do that.
I
Yes.
think that might be one of the biggest reasons why we're not called electricians anymore. We are set lighting technicians or whatever else, but
Yeah.
we're not electrics.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Oh God, fuck.
You got another one?
I hope you guys have enough. Yeah, I mean, I got
well,
endless
I'll keep going.
homie. No, we did one of the. We did the gig where I nearly knocked the dude out. We were later in Queens somewhere shooting a house that the director owned. Like he owned a bunch of properties, and we had to go do the tie-in. So, like the other electric was like doing electric stuff. And like I'm the key, so like I'm in charge of safety. So like I sort of became the de facto dude that walks downstairs with the rope and the board. For those of you that don't know, when you are illegally tying into a box on an indie film and don't know what you're doing, one of the things that you are told you're supposed to do is rope and board. So when the dude's tying in, you tie a rope around their waist, someone's holding that, and then the other guy has a board so that if the box bites you and you latch on, you yank the rope and hit him with the board, and that knocks them off the box.
Yeah.
So I was going downstairs with the rope and the board, and we, hand to God, this is true. We opened the door to this basement, and the movie we were making was being made by a Korean fella, and we opened the door, and there was an older Korean man sitting in the middle of the basement with a sewing machine, surrounded like a snowdrift, surrounded by neckties. like floor to ceiling neckties, and the dude was sewing the neckties together and making vests. I don't know why, but like and furiously smoking, and he did not look up once. And we like walked past him and kind of like shoved through the neckties till we found the box, because it's an indie film. And we tied into this super sketchy box and then laid cable. And my man just like the whole we weren't even
Didn't
there.
ask questions. Just gotta get through the
But like
ties.
classic indie film of like, we're going to open this door and it could literally be anything behind here. It was an old Korean dude, chain smoking, sewing neckties together for God knows what purpose. That movie was fucking ridiculous.
Those were your rap gifts.
Yeah. No, that movie got raided by the FBI actually.
What?
Yeah, you gotta like explain that.
Yeah, you can't just drop that and not.
It's in the New York Times. The director of the movie may have been running an illegal bootleg operation out of his business. And over the weekend, the FBI might have raided that place while we were where we were on a down day.
This is not related to the neckties.
Bootleg
No,
what?
not related to the neckties at all. No, yeah.
That was that was like a CIA raid.
business.
That was a,
And then I think it was his birthday actually the next day. So like production had like bought him a cake to like wish him happy birthday, and grip department just put a file in it because like we were like, you're going to jail because we're assholes. Luckily he didn't get the joke, so it's okay. Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, tell me about this other rig.
We tech scouted a location we had to shoot in, and it was a duplex, and we were shooting in the bottom floor, and the DP wanted to get light in through the windows, but it was like a courtyard, so we couldn't get we were on like the 6th story or whatever, so we couldn't get condors or anything in there. So I had, and like that was on the tech scout, so I came up with a rough idea of what I wanted to do. So I called a Modern Grip, and I asked them to make me a speed rail sleeve with a 2K junior receiver, welded on. And Modern is great about that. I mean, like any dumb thing you come up with, like you can just email them or text them or whatever, and they will make it for you.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I had them build those, and then what we did is I cantilevered 2 12x speed rails off there was like a little balcony above the windows that we wanted to shoot in. So I cantilevered 2 speed rails off of that. And then had the sleeves on it, and then silicone sprayed the absolute hell out of the speed rail, and then had pulleys at the ends of the 2K or at the end of the speed rail, like on like carabiners or whatever the hell, and then I ran line to the 2K receiver, and then we had 1.8s put on those, and then when we wanted to put them out there, I just you pull the rope and it would slide the lamp out to the end of the speed rail. And then at the end of the day, you just pull the rope in the other direction, and then you pull the 1.8 and be done. So that was a pretty good shitty rig I did on that kit. It worked fucking perfectly.
Is there a picture of this?
Oh no, not at all. No, this is in the day before smartphones, my friend. There's no photos of this. No photos.
We'll do a bar napkin drawing. Of it.
I can.
it was a junior. It was a junior receiver.
Junior receiver on a speed rail sleeve. So the junior receiver was straight down, speed rail sleeve. So you put it onto the speed rail, and then you could just, if you greased up the pipe enough, you could just slide the speed rail, sleeve. You wouldn't tighten it. You just leave it loose.
Yeah.
You just slide it down the pipe.
Was there anything stopping it at the end?
Yeah. We, the old classic Cardellini, or
Just don't pull too hard.
number 2 spring clip, whatever. Yeah. There was something stopping it at the end.
There was a 1900s English boy.
Just hanging up. Please, sir. No porridge. Shut up, chimney sweep. Anyway, that was anyway. Segue.
All right, segue.
Seamless segue.
Yeah, that's an amazing segue.
Star wipe.
You clearly see the art in all of these things, and I know for a fact you work with a photographer.
Sure.
So it's like, how did you transition from working in film to getting into that world? Because it seems like such a completely different world to be a part of.
So that one is sort of a legitimate Nepo baby situation that occurred with that. So I'm the key grip for a photographer named Gregory Crutzen, who, if you are a DP between the ages of 25 and 40, you have 100% used in a pitch deck reference at some point. He does sort of photos that look like a still frame out of a David Lynch movie or something like that. I got onto that because I never know exactly how to describe this. Like Greg is the photographer of those, but he's really he's the director. And then who I would say is what we would consider the DP, the director of photography, is a fellow named Rico Sands. Rico had worked with my old man for Trumbull years and years back, and I found out that Greg was shooting Beneath the Roses, which is a series he did a fucking lifetime ago, probably 2003, 2004, that he was shooting Beneath the Roses in Pittsfield, which is where I moved when I was when my dad started working for Doug. We moved up to the Shire, to Great Barrington. Pittsfield's the
Western Mass.
The Berkshires. Yeah. Exit 2 off the Mass Pike. So Greg was shooting up in Pittsfield, and I was desperate to fucking get on that job, and that was actually probably the first time I called my dad and was like, yo, tell Rico that I know what I'm doing or whatever, and so my dad did that, and Rico was like, nah, you're fucked. They're all he's fully booked. I mean, I think at that time they were 10 and 10 or something. I don't know if I think Bill Amento was, I don't know if Bill was gaffing it or keying it or whatever, but I knew some. Excuse me, I'm all this delicious Miller High Life in this giant Mad Hatter teacup. So I was kind of SOL on that, and then a dude aggressively burned his forearm on a 4K par lens. And so they needed a guy, and I just I just Batman appeared, maybe I burned the guy, I don't know. So I got the gig on that, and and my first day on that, we were shooting on a street in Pittsfield. We had, I think, 3 condors. I mean, that series was huge. Greg would shoot real big back then. And my first day was I was put in the bucket because I was just some guy. So I was put in the bucket, 65, 85 foot condor. I had 3 4K pars that I was in charge of. And the way that Greg's photos work is you rig all day, and then the photos themselves occur right at twilight. Mm-hmm. So, everyone's kind of running around all day, and then right at twilight, everybody gets into especially back then, this is before, you could iPad everything. Everyone would be in a station, so everyone would be assigned to 3 lights or a couple of Kino ballasts or whatever, and then everyone shuts the fuck up, and then Rico gets on the walkie. It's really like a conductor of a film, and or conductor of an orchestra, and as the sun is setting, the light quality is changing, the exposure is changing, so Rico would over walkie. I mean, I don't know how. Rico's a pretty exceptional human being, in general, but from a lighting standpoint, I don't quite understand how his mind works. But he would just call out over the scene to everybody, all right, 650, double down, all right, that Kino, go to 2 foot mode, lose a bulb, wow. And yes, it was incredible. And I was in the bucket of the Condor day one, no idea what the hell, and I'm not an electric, and I barely knew what the lamps do, especially then. And Rico's like, all right, Brandon, like or he goes, what do you do? What the hell did he say? He goes, pan lamp left at CCW. And I went, oh no, like I don't know what that means. And also Rico, like he's a 6'6" giant gorilla of a human being with a very deep voice who kind of mutters. And I was like, I don't know what he said. And I went, Rick, I'm sorry, I did not copy. And he goes, Fanboy CCW. I was like, fuck, that didn't make any more sense to me at all. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know what I don't know. He goes, CCW, panel and CCW. And I was like, he goes, counter fucking clockwise. And I'm so scared. And like, I was like, I'm going to get fired tomorrow. And then the next day this actually goes well into shitty rigging. We were doing another condor rig, and they wanted to be able to do barn doors on the 4K, to cut, not even barn doors, honestly, to be able to do like 4x floppy cutters on the bucket. But you're 60 feet in the air. So they couldn't really figure out what to do. So what I built was I did 2 8-foot pieces of speed rail off of each side of the bucket like that. So the lamp's here pointing forward. So 2 8-foot pieces of speed rail. How the fuck did I do this? And then I had 2 big bends on the top, 2 big bends on the bottom. Is that right? Let me think about that a second.
Just lie.
No, fuck no. I had a big bend on the top and the bottom over here, and then I put a 4-foot piece of speed rail to rigid cheese burrows to lock these 8x together, right? And then I had another 4-foot piece of speed rail that was sitting in a big bend up here and a big bend down here that was loose on both sides, and then I double wrapped a ratchet strap around that, and then ran it back to the bucket where I did the exact same thing with a big bend and a 4-foot piece, and double wrapped that, and then cranked it down, and then I attached a chain vice grip to the speed rail back here, and then using a whatever the fuck I used, I attached a 4x floppy to that pipe. So back at the bucket, if you turned the chain vice grips, it would rotate the pipes here and here, which would then flap the 4x's in and out. So you could just at the bucket just kind of like pan like one in or one out.
That's
cut
awesome.
Light.
That's so cool.
And that rig, I think, got me the key grip job with Greg or with Rico, and then Greg sort of from there on out.
Terrible electrician.
Yeah.
Great grip. You're never going in the bucket again, but you'll rig all of them.
Yeah. And I did that again. We did another on Cathedral of the Pines, which I think was the next one. The Cathedral? Yeah, Cathedral of the Pines. I did the same thing with an 8x topper, which I do have video of, so I can send you. I can send you what that insanity looks like when you do it. But to your question, no, working with Greg is like the goddamn greatest job I'll ever have. If I could just do crews and jobs the rest of my life, I would be incredibly happy. It is, it's different than it's different. It's the same in film in that the way we light it is the exact same way you would light a scene in a film. We use all hot lights. There's no strobes. We do the exact same. Like, Condor, big keys. We light the whole street. But unlike a film where you're doing 30, 40 setups a day or whatever, I spend an entire day lighting one scene, one setup. So you are allowed the time to like actually do your craft as well as you possibly can do it. And it's so incredibly rewarding when you're like given in a lot of those crews and frames, if you look at the picture, like my flags, rig, the lights, they are legitimately like a pixel off frame. Like we are right up against the thing. And legitimately, you'll spend the time to like set a Charlie bar, and a Charlie bar is if you have a light that's blasting everywhere, and you want to just get a cut in the middle of it, you'll just do they make Charlie bars, but you're just skinny long flags, or you'll just take a 2x3 and kind of just pan it a little bit, so it's only 8 inches of solid is now blocking the light, but you'll spend 45 minutes like actually getting that correct. Or there's one photo. Where it's 2 women. It's from the new series. It's 2 women in an abandoned bank teller like drive-through spot, and they're laying down, and there's a column here and there's a column there of the bank teller. And in order to create negative fill on that, I rigged 2 polecats vertically and then tied an 8x solid. But where the camera's looking, you actually can't see it because it's hidden by the column. But there is an 8x solid like right in the middle of that frame. So it's an incredibly rewarding experience to actually be able to do your job as perfectly as is humanly possible. And then, to create something that, exists as a still image, for a photographer who is as talented and recognized as being as talented as he is, where, it lives in a museum, long after I'm dead, like there will be something that I worked on that someone will look at, which is like an incredible, I feel incredibly blessed and incredibly fortunate to have had that opportunity to work on something that, like that. Along with all the diaper commercials and shit that I've done.
I'm like, this is blowing my mind a little bit. So if you're only there for one day for each photo.
Yeah.
How do they, like, is the intent to shoot with no lights at twilight and then the lights supplement it, or they know what they're going to do 6 hours ahead of time? And
so that's where Rico comes in. Like So we are lighting with the intent of twilight, and we're also lighting at I think 50 ASA at an f20.
It's all like large format cameras.
Yeah. But what I mean is like we're doing like 5-second exposures.
you see everything.
Yeah. Everything's in focus.
Yeah.
Everything's in focus. Like that's where Rico kind of working with him. I mean, when I talk about like getting fortunate enough to work with somebody who's better at it than you, and kind of just like asking questions, paying attention, and shutting the fuck up, is an incredibly useful thing, because I've learned an enormous amount working on those cruising jobs just from being near Rico. Mm-hmm. He is truly a wizard. Like I asked him once. I went, Rick, how the hell do you do this? And he went, what the fuck do you mean? He's like, you look at it and that's where the thing is. It's like, oh, okay, no, you have like Terminator vision. Yeah. Like you're like, you see the world way different than I do. But even that aside, like just like working, like Greg is incredibly sweet and very generous. And I mean, I remember like one of the shoots we were on, he's placing background. I don't know if you see, if you see a cruising photo, there's like, there's always like a junky car somewhere in the background. And he's trying to place the car, and there's like a PA which just happened to be next to him. And he was like, hey, where do you think the car should go? And the PA was like, I don't know, over there. And he was like, yeah, okay, that sounds good. We'll put the car over there. And you could just see the PA just like, we'll just light up. Like, it's just, it's just cool when you get to work with people who like, I either have been doing it long enough or confident enough or just like decent human beings where there's not that like ego attached of like this is mine. Like it feels like a very, I mean, to go back to sort of the beauty of like indie films, like it definitely feels it feels like a family. It's like a very like organic sort of process, and like everybody, sort of brings something to the table, and everybody's, like everyone's kind of listened to. Like, it's like honestly, like the third electric can have a good idea, or the PA or whoever, like, and like that's how we'll do it. And I think we benefit from spending all day doing the thing.
Yeah.
Like there's not a rush, so there's not a need for just like one guy to make the decision right now, because like we're all gonna die in 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it is a much slower process, and it's so fucking rewarding. It's so great, and I'm sorry that none of y'all get to work on it. but it is a lot of fun.
Start burning some more people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
How many series have you worked on with
So I've done. So I got to close out. I got to close out Beneath the Roses, but as the key, I've done Cathedral of the Pines, Eclipse of Moths, and then we have one that just is opening called Eveningside. Morningside? Eveningside. Sorry, Greg.
The sun's about to hit the horizon.
No, it's because there's neighborhoods in towns called Morningside, and the reason that's called is because in those towns they're generally in valleys, and it's where the sun actually first rises, is where the sun hits. It's like the sides of the town are called Morningside, so Eveningside. That was the one we did. Yeah. So I've done 3. I've done 3, and they're sort of like the Olympics. It's like every 4 years we get to do one.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's and it's a lot of fun, and like you're in the Berkshires, like we're generally in the summer or the fall. Like again, you're doing it all day, so like I bring a smoker. Like the smoker lives on the grip truck, so like I generally break the smoker out, every other day, and we're doing a brisket or a.
How long are the shoots?
Like about like 3 weeks usually. I mean, sometimes 3 weeks I think at a jog. And there's also been days where like we've shot and it's like just like we're not
right
like it's just the light's not right, or like you have an idea in your head and then you try it and it's like nah, that's not hitting. But yeah, I mean, I think all in all, I would guess that like 85 to 90% of what we shot has been seen by the general public, for sure. Like we're doing pretty good, and we've also really tried, because I know a lot of people are like, oh well, you composite a lot of those shots, because there is some compositing that occurs in those photos, but honestly, mostly it's because like the wind will blow during a shoot, like a shot. So like when the wind blows, like all of those leaves are now just blurry as shit.
Right.
So we'll just do like a very quick shot of just leaves. We'll stop down and and then pull the focus to where the leaves are and then do a shot of that. We definitely do like about 20 sky passes. As the sky changes, it's like, oh, that's a cool color. So we'll stop down for the sky and we'll do a bunch of those, and then that gets composited. But pretty much everything on the like in the frame, like we try super super hard, and we've gotten pretty good at like getting that all in frame, like in camera.
I mean, you still shot it all. I mean, it's not like you're you're making something up.
The naysayers
Fuck
with
'em.
it's not real. Like, nah, it's real. Like we did.
Yeah.
We're doing pretty good. And I will say the advent of like LED and wireless, what the fuck are those stupid little antennas?
Centennas.
Centennas, yeah. Like those have been pretty rad for
But like
what we've done.
you can't say that dodging and burning hasn't been part of photography forever.
Dude,
it's like
100%.
there's always been manipulations.
You can't like William Eggleston and like be hot at like someone compositing. It's like it's all a color process or whatever. Yeah. So those are my recruits, and that was how I got into working with Greg, and I'm super fortunate to have done it. And
that must have helped you also, just like from doing those and being able to take all the time, like then process, being able to translate it back to something.
Oh,
else.
totally. No. I mean, partially working with Rico was super informative for me, in just how to like see light. Because I think for years, I don't know how, for anybody else, but for years, you just kind of do it. For a long time, I was just doing it because like that's how I was told to do it. Like I knew that like this needed a bounce here because the DP always asked for a bounce here or whatever, or the negative fill or whatever the hell. And then like somewhere working on Greg, working with Rico, it whatever it is clicked, where it was like, oh, I actually see, like I see what we're doing and I understand it now, and like. So now I can anticipate, or you get the eye, whatever that eye is that eventually comes from doing this for long enough, which again is why it's an artisan craft, unless you're a weird Rico Terminator vision guy. That did kick in on working on crews and shoots, and yeah, it's been super helpful and useful since then.
Do you ever get a pitch deck shown to you with the Crutzen
100%.
photo, and they're like, we want to do this in like 20 minutes?
Yeah. Oh,
You're like, well, I worked on that, and let me tell you something.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Also, it has not been the worst for getting jobs. To be like, I was the guy, I'm the guy on that thing. Like that has been a helpful resume piece to have.
Any random like weird? I remember you sending me a rig. I'm not sure if it's from a Crutzen.
Oh, I've done a fuck ton of weird rigs on Crutzen.
But it was
I think
like
my weirdest shitty rig, my best shitty rig was on Crutzen.
It was like a trash can that you were using as a snoot or something.
Oh yeah, fucking bucket snoot. Hell yeah, dude, bucket snoot. Fuck yeah.
Just a bigger version of a coffee can.
Yeah. It's all coffee cans all the way down, boys. It's all coffee cans all the way down. So Rick on Cathedral, we had a shoot where we use a lot of 1/8s on crews and jobs, and he wanted to. There was a young lady sitting in a chair, and he wanted to kind of pin spot her using a 1/8. So he wanted a snoot, and what a snoot is, for those of you who don't know, is it is, how the fuck do I put this? It is, honestly, it's just a big old can you put on the front of a light that obfuscates a majority of the beam and just allows like one little tiny sort of area of exposure to come through the lamp. Sort of like what you do with the Leica minus the ellipsoidal glass. It's just like, it's a poor man's sort of Leica lens. So Rick wanted a snoot for the 1/8, and for a long time, what we'd been using is we'd been building box snoots out of coroplast. So we'd build a box snoot. You'd clip it on with #1 spring clips. We got to the point where we like put little slits in where you could drop color gels nice. In. You could drop like but like you always want to kick it up a notch. So I took the scrim, like a double from a 1/8, and I went to the local hardware store, and I just kind of wandered around the hardware store for a while. Because I will say, gripping, most solutions exist. For like whatever your problem is, most solutions exist. They're generally within 100 yards of you. Hand to God, they are. Like I did one job where we just ran out of dolly track wedges and shit, and we were like under an overpass, and I was like, fuck, what are we gonna do? And he just kind of looked around, and like someone had been feeding cats for a while, so they just like, there's a bunch of like empty tin cans, and if you turn those upside down, they make excellent dolly levelers. Like you can level a dolly track using cat food tins. But it's right there. Like most of what you need is somewhere within 100 yards of you.
Ripping off the land.
I swear, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I swear to God, it's all foraging. So I went to the hardware store with a 2K double, or a one M18 double, and just kind of wandering around, and they had the ash bucket, like ash bucket. I don't know. For those of you who own houses, you'll know you have an ash bucket for like fireplaces or I don't know, your barbecue or whatever. And I was like, that looks pretty close. And then I just kind of laid the double down on top of the ash bucket, and it was the exact same goddamn size. And a little ash bucket's got like a little like kind of curved lip. And I was like, that is going to slide real nice into the 2K slot. And I was like, all right, it's just an ash bucket, so it's only got, it's got an 8-inch ass on it, so that's not snootable enough. So I'm kind of wandering around, and then I just found, like potbelly stovepipe. So stovepipe. And what's amazing about fucking stovepipe is it comes in like an 8-inch, and then it's got an 8 to 6-inch step down, and then a 6 to 4-inch step down, and then a 4 to 2-inch step down, and it's all made out of sheet metal. So I bought that, a bunch of sheet metal screws, and some like Krylon barbecue black spray paint, and then screwed them all together, and then made a. I mean, it was probably this goddamn long, but yeah, made a snoot for the M18. Yeah. Yeah, I got a picture of you.
I remember that picture.
Yeah.
Being like, what the fuck?
The first version of it got way too hot. So we did probably like 3 iteratives of it until we got to like a workable snoot. But yeah, made a bucket snoot. You can make a snoot for an M18 out of ash buckets and stovepipe.
Wait, your ash bucket and stovepipe got too hot?
Oh yeah, way too hot. Like way too hot. Yeah, yes, I hear what you're saying, and yes, because it had an HMI just slamming into it, which
like full spot HMI.
Well, the beam to bucket start was probably that far, so it's a lot of hot coming at it. Yeah. And I think the concern was like, what happens to the bulb? I think that was the main concern, because I'm not a light scientist.
Yeah. A light scientist.
So we did do a couple more iteratives of it, and then eventually we glued googly eyes on it. So
yeah, why not?
And that's how you knew it was professional.
That's how you know.
Yeah, that's how you know.
It's legit.
Yeah, no, I did a bunch
black
of
with googly eyes.
shitty rigs on my best shitty rig, and I would throw it into the competition for best shitty rigs ever. Was on Cruisin'. We did a Cruisin' Winter. Years before I'd done a job, I'd done an indie film where we had the Fisher with the skates on it, which, holy cow, that's neat. Except what they don't tell you is when you park a Fisher for too long with skates on it, it will eventually just sort of melt into the ice. And then
skates. He's saying like
skates.
Ice skates. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Sorry,
not
Fisher.
Skateboard wheels. Not
Fisher makes ice skates for the dolly. And if you leave it sitting which you don't know, it'll eventually melt, and then it melts in, and then the top part freezes back over, and then you have to figure out how to get your fucking dolly out.
Do they make something for that too? Like
There's a torch.
Yeah, a hammer. But on that job, I was like, oh man, I bet if we put a sail on this, it'd be neat as shit.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Arm full up.
yeah. So smash cut to several years later, we were doing this cruising job, and we were shooting on a frozen lake out in Beckett. And we had a little bit of downtime. Me and my best boy was Justin Hullinger, Captain Hully, who at the time had bought a sailboat and was trying to sail around the Panama Canal or something. We were like, this seems like an excellent opportunity. So we took 2 muscle carts and we emptied them, and then we faced them towards each other, so they were nose to nose, and then we ran speed rail along the underside of the rims. Muscle carts are used to push sandbags around, and so yeah, we did speed rail underneath. We clamped that with C clamps, and then the muscle cart, the chair back of a muscle cart goes like that. So we then ratcheted a Mambo combo, which is a stand to the front side of that, and then rigged an 8x 8x light grid to that with down to another 8x piece of speed rail, which was then connected to just sash, and I think ran through the C clamps, and then you could sit in it and sail.
I remember this rig. Somebody sent this to us when we were still on Tumblr. This is before Instagram. This was one of like the first or second year shitty rig like existed.
Yeah.
And I remember like we were getting like that came in, and then like somebody else sent us like a golf cart version of like, but there was like anytime you used a muscle cart as a dolly, I was like, fuck yes.
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
It was honestly, it was a fully working sailboat, because you could if you wanted to turn left, you would just pull the left in, and then the wind would kind of push the ass of the. So we sailed it during the day, sort of semi-successfully, and we got pretty good video of it. But then that night, Holly and I were at the bar, and it got real windy at the bar, and we were like, we kind of had this, we did a look to each other, and we both left the bar and went back to set and took the sailboat out and had a beautiful, romantic, and terrifying full moon sail on the lake on a day off on a cruising job.
Was this a rig or just a sailboat?
Oh no, baby! This was just I had some extra gear.
I remember,
and it was an idea I had
just
for
checking.
years. Yeah, I don't know if it counts, I guess, as a shitty rig. It wasn't. There was no practical application of this, other than
having fun.
Years before, I had
Leisure
been
is
on
very
set
important.
and was like, could this be done? And
I feel like I remember this video too, because like whoever was filming it like did this awesome like cinematic swoop around the whole thing while it was sailing.
It was.
And it's like this was a production.
I don't know if it was
itself.
Justin Lee or Justin's best boy, and I apologize. I'm gonna forget his name right now, and I'm terribly sorry, brother. But my man was on ice skates, filming us.
I'll
skating backwards.
I'll dig this out of our Tumblr because I know it exists.
But yes, that's how I got on cruising. It's been a goddamn blessing, and I hope to do it, until I drop dead. It
sounds fucking great.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a pretty good time. Yeah, like we barbecue.
How old is he?
Greg?
Like, is this something that will be
yeah.
into the foreseeable future?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really me though. Like, I'm probably the liability. It's like fucking 20 years of gripping in New York City, where I started doing metal videos where it's like you're in like some shitbag, abandoned factory in Bushwick, where like your throat starts to get sore after a half hour,
and there's no smoke machine.
Yeah, no. There's like a couple of heroin addicts that like live, like are squatting in the corner over there, and it's just like covered in like pigeon shit. So yeah, I'm probably the liability. Yeah.
Well, what do you have? What are you working on now?
Trying to figure out how to retire, how to get out of this industry. Recently I've been like post COVID, I kind of got sucked into the world of like food competition shows.
Yeah.
Which like isn't exactly something I was expecting or wanting to do, but it's actually kind of pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I still get to do like goofy rigs every now and then. Like the hours are very reasonable because like none of those guys want to be there for a long day, and once they're gone, there's kind of nothing you can do anymore. So nice reasonable days, decent rate. Occasionally you get food. Although not always. Which is always a question. It's like, oh, the food's got to be great. It's like, no, man, they're making, like, it's a competition thing. They're making 3 dishes. There's like 80 dudes, 80 people on the other side of the camera. Like, there's not, like, that's not how that works.
I mean, they do have the throwaway fridge, right? Like all the stuff they didn't use.
So that's the best part of working on the food shows. And if you are going to work on a food show, immediately become friends with the culinary department. Because at the end of each episode or at the end of each week, there's like, oh, would you like to use arugula, shellfish, or, flank steak or whatever? And then the person picks one of those. And then, that other stuff generally just gets tossed. Mm-hmm. So if you become friends with the culinary department at the end of the week, you go, hey, this guy. And then you get all this delicious free produce.
Yeah.
And then if you're on location, which I was on one this past winter, you then talk to the pyro team. And you just have them give you a smoker, and then just at grip staging you can just cook, during the day.
There's a second film being shot.
Yeah. There's two
shows.
Yeah, there's 2 shows going on. Yeah. So we did a fair amount of cooking on the January show.
You're cooking off the back of a grip truck.
Well. Oh yeah. I do that.
UK opens.
Yeah, I do that. I do that on Crutzen. I do that. Yeah, but you have to talk to the culinary department. You have to talk to the pyro department.
Yeah.
You just turn the lift gate into a griddle.
Yeah. You just do an open flame underneath it. Yeah, that's great. It's just a little bit of burnt aluminum, but that's fine. It's fine. Again, I was working on metal videos. I'm probably gonna die anyway. What's an extra?
Gives the food some flavor.
Yeah. But I've been it's been a lot of commercials and a lot of food shows recently, and then the occasional documentary to cleanse the palate.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
You feel like you have to balance those things too, because
I mean,
you can't just do diaper commercials for the rest of your life.
It's that's how you become a functional alcoholic. So this is what an intervention feels like, right? Is this what this is really all about?
Here.
Yeah.
All right, guys, come in.
Brandon, when you said that, you made yeah.
Well, since Brandon is so experienced with gear, clearly turning like muscle cars into sailboats, do we want to ask him about his like top 5 pieces of gear?
Oh yeah, and I don't give a shit.
You don't give a shit?
No, but there's so what we've done in the past is like Lukens gave us his top 5 C stands.
Sure.
Like you got to have top 5
Ranked
clamps or 5 pieces of gear you never want to use.
I think my favorite piece of gear, just for being able to use for all sorts, is honestly a ratchet strap. Like it is an underappreciated piece of gear. I think it's an unsung hero. You can do a fuck ton of stuff with a ratchet strap. Like, I mean, you can use it as a clamp. You can, it's pretty useful. I remember I ran out of sandbags on a job I was doing near a beach, and so there was a big boulder. So I just ratchet strapped my stand to the boulder.
I mean,
yeah,
works fine.
Nature's sandbag.
Yeah.
Why bring sand to the beach anyway?
Exactly. That is always just the dumbest.
Yeah, it's just it hurts,
sand,
right?
You're like, what am I doing? Yeah. I did work with some like LA boys or some LA boys, Virginia. I don't know, some dudes who work at a beach who would just bring Home Depot buckets. And then you would just and then you bury them, and you just tie off to that.
That's smart.
Like,
that handle is definitely not as strong as the sand.
No. They drilled holes, and there'd be like there was like a rope, like a little rope, like a sash handle or whatever, a runner or whatever the hell. But yeah, bringing sandbags to the beach is the dumbest goddamn thing. Let's see. So ratchet strap. I love an N-jaw Cardellini. That is, I will
specific size, or is there?
No, I mean. The Longolini is like neat and all, but it is a little ridiculous looking. Like when you break it out, like it's
like almost always tightened on the thread too. Yeah. Nobody actually uses the part you're supposed to.
No, it's definitely like overcompensating that Longolini. No, I like an N-jaw. I like an N-jaw Cardi. fuck a mid jaw, so for like very specific purposes. But no, yeah. So ratchet strap, end jaw cardi. I love it. I love a chain vice grip. Big fan, but the non-pinned, like I don't need a pin. Like you shouldn't be using a. I don't think there's very few applications of a 750 pinned chain vise, but they're great for you're doing a condor mount or trying to get two pieces of pipe to glue together or whatever. And it also looks fucking cool.
Yeah,
it's got a real satisfying tactile snap when
it's definitely like the most terrifying thing in the clamp bin in my mind.
Of things that you look at that are like that's gonna fail. 100% that thing does not seem like it should be doing its job at all. No,
it just is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it though. No, you put the gaff tape around the handle. That's
that's the trick.
That's how you make sure. That's how it's safe.
Also good in a fight.
Yeah. No, that's up there. That's up there in zombie grip gear fight. 100%. I like a Hollander clamp. I don't know who doesn't like a Hollander clamp.
What's a Hollander clamp?
Explain that.
Oh. So a Hollander, it's like a Cheeseboro, but cleaner. It is a cleaner Cheeseboro. It's a proprietary company called Hollander. They make speed rail fittings. They're used a lot on car rigs just because they're clean. There's not a lot of instead of having the 3/4 inch nut bolt clamp down, it is just a what the fuck's it called? Set screw. Like a little set screw that locks it in. But yeah, they come. There's shit, man. They're neat as hell. So yeah, it comes in rigid. You can get a fixed one, and then the fixed one has like a little sort of stump that comes out and slots into another receiver Hollander. So you can swivel the pipe however you want, and then you can lock that stump down. So instead of the Cheeseboro swivel, which will always kind of do this shit, you can actually get a rigid angled
interesting.
cut.
It's like
but you have to put it over the end of the pipe. You can't just like clamp it into the middle.
No, my friend, they make broken Hollanders where like the top edge of the Hollander will actually slide out.
Okay.
You can pop the pipe in and then slide that back in and then crank it down.
Okay. I think I've seen those. I just never had them called that.
Yeah, they're neat as shit. Okay. So what are we at? I'm at 4 now, right?
And for those complete idiots out there that don't know what a Cheeseboro is.
Oh, sorry. If you don't know what a Cheeseboro is, go Google it.
Sound guys.
We'll put a picture below.
No, Cheeseboro. I don't get me wrong. I fucking love a Cheeseboro, but like the Hollander is like the grown-up version of a Cheeseboro. It's like when you've graduated with your bachelor's degree in Cheeseburos, you can go on to your master's in Hollander clamps. That's sort of how I would describe it. No, Cheeseburos are great. They come in rigid and swivel. They come in for us 1.25 to 1.5 inch, which is our standard speed rail pipe size. And they are just a rigid piece of metal that attaches two pieces of pipe at a 90-degree angle. Or the swivel version, you can then it's a forever an infinite swivel, so you can get angled with pipe and then ratchet it or crank it down.
Oh, that thing.
Yeah, and they're strong as fuck, and they're great, but bulky.
So you said Hollander?
Hollander.
Is that like available at most places like that you rent, or is that something that you specifically have
no,
in your
it's
kit?
That is. I mean, I own a fair amount of Hollanders now, but they are generally rentable through rental houses. Mm-hmm. And if you live in the New York City area, you can buy them over at Mutual Hardware.
Yeah, I think most people like on a set when we have if we had a car rigging setup or something like that, it would just be. There would be a 9-banger box that's just labeled speed rail fittings.
Yeah. Yes.
And there's like a whole bunch of T's, ends. I've never heard the brand name before.
Yeah.
So you're just going by the brand name.
Yeah, the brand
that's
name
all
is Hollanders, yeah. But yeah, speed rail fittings, but Hollander speed rail fittings. Yeah, you get like a 9-bagger of those.
It's an Allen key tightener instead of like you use the hater.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly. And you'll get like a pipe organ with that as well. Yeah. Like that's your car rig kit.
Pipe organ.
Oh, pipe organ would be like it's sort of about the size of a 2x3 cart, which is a flag size. So it's generally like a 2 foot by 3 foot cart, broken up into like.
I already know what it is, and it's a fucking great name.
Yeah, six to 8 slots or whatever, and it is it's a step down of like 4 foot, 3 foot, 2 foot, 1 foot, 6 inch pipe. and when you look at it, it looks like a pipe organ.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
Nice.
Thus its name.
Dude.
Yeah. But that's for
All
general
right,
car rigging.
You have one more.
Let's see. I have one more, one more piece of grip gear that I guess the jam box. You know, you're gonna want to
Just music.
yeah.
You do always have that.
I do always have a jam box.
Morale is important.
Yes.
No, absolutely, brother. Yeah, you know, you got to keep the spirits up. You know, yeah, jam box. I don't know.
All right, we'll take it.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
good.
sure there's some other piece of gear, but
No, but
gives a
those are
shit,
the top 5 off the top of your head.
Yeah,
so-
it's
Big gear, yeah.
yeah. I mean, fuck, I love a gobo head,
yeah, but I mean,
but jam box. We'll go with jam box.
if you had to choose,
Between a jam box and a gobo head, fuck, I mean,
Which brand gobo head would you go with?
I honestly I don't care. I don't care.
If somebody handed you a non-pass-through Norms gobo head, you'd be like, "Oh, thank you."
Oh no, those are hot trash.
Okay, so it matters. That's
I guess you're right. I guess you're right. Yeah. No, a Norm's head are pretty hot trash. Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, as long as it does its job, and the Norm's does not. So yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
There's a Cheeseboro question that I want to ask, but I don't think I can articulate it without a Cheeseboro and a pipe.
we have a cheeseburger on a pipe.
Okay.
Go for it.
All right, so what's the debate here?
Okay, so on however many grip crews I've been on, there's 2 schools of thought when you're rigging pipe with a Cheeseboro. And because it's one of your favorite, not this brand, but
No. I love a goddamn cheese, bro.
some people will take a Cheeseboro and they'll put the pin up because the thought process is if this isn't fully tightened, this will still lock on the nut. And while the pipe can spin, it won't open up.
Correct.
Some people will rig it this way because their thought process is if this loosens enough that the pin falls out, this will hang on the pipe and whatever is attached to the other side won't fall. What side do you...
So I understand both theories. I personally go with column A.
This way,
Yeah.
here.
It is the way that a cheesebro is designed, and I understand the thought processes behind the upside down one. Personally, I go this way because I'm not an asshole, and when rigging cheesebros, I'm at least finger tight all the time.
Yes.
You'd have to like the way that a cheesebro is designed. It has, sorry, the way that a cheesebro is designed, it has a lip right here. See that lip right there? You can kind of see it in the side profile as well, perhaps. When properly seated, right, even loose on the finger tight, the bolt itself or the nut itself sits within that pocket, right? So it cannot move. It cannot move. So if you finger tighten it, like you're now good. Like it can't, like it fucking can't come out. So to me, that seems like the proper way to do it. This to me, even though I understand the logic completely, because that is true. If this
And it's got to back out a lot.
if
That's
this,
the
yeah,
thing.
it has to back. Yeah, it has to back. I mean, that's how much I had to back that thing out in order to get that, to slip past. So the thought process here is that here's that happens, and the way that a cheesebro is designed, it locks there. So that will now do that. But to me, just from a logic standpoint, that terrifies me that your reason for this being safer is that the completely open bail will still hold. Where like, I don't know, if you've gotten to the point of a completely open bail, like, no.
Yeah, like
Honestly, if you get to completely open bail on a cheesebro, you should not be fucking gripping. Is honestly how it is with me, like, in my opinion. So this to me seems like a moot point debate, because if you get to either of these things occurring, you should not be in the grip department, is my feeling.
Had to ask. I'm in the same school as you. It's one of those things that I know people fight about.
Yeah, no, I mean, sure, I get it. So that's my feeling on that.
Cool.
Cheeseburgers.
Should you not go past finger tight?
Oh no! You should hunt. No,
it's when you're setting it all up.
Yes, you should.
you should
Yes.
absolutely go. Although to that point, you don't have to go like you're welding these things together. A lot of grips, especially like early on, get super overeager and like really put a hate on these, and like you don't need to. Like you go. I mean, I think it's like it's a turn and a quarter. Is you're good to go.
Well, that's why they called those haters.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have one, you fucking hate the guy that said it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no. You should no. You finger tighten. My point is like you're finger tightening it, and then you're going for your wrench or whatever. Like then you wrench it down. But if for some reason you suddenly get called away, or there's a fire breaks out and you have to run away, like it still can't go anywhere because it's finger tight. But no, never leave shit finger tight. Again, shouldn't
That's
be a
like
grip
a top
then.
rule,
Yeah,
right?
that's right up there. Yeah, absolutely.
Sandbag on the big leg, not more than finger tight, and if you pop a beer, you got to chug it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's for like 35 and under. I feel like once you've been in this game over 35, you've paid your dues.
Mike did.
Yeah, he did it to himself too. Like no one asked him to do it.
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Oh God.
For someone coming in, what would you suggest if they wanted to get into G&E? Like you've said multiple times, don't do what I did. So
Yeah, I would argue like if you're trying to get into grip electric, don't. No, hold on. No, because it is a noble craft for broken people. Hope to God you work for someone good, who's not a complete tyrant. No, okay. Let me actually take this question seriously. I think what's good is honestly asking questions. I think a lot of times, you come in and you're insecure, or like, you don't want to seem like you don't know what you're doing, and you'll not ask questions. I would so much rather I ask you for a piece of gear and you say, I don't know what that is. Can you describe it to me? Rather than you run to the truck and guess and then come back with the wrong thing. And now we've wasted 8 minutes or whatever. Also, like once you get in the habit of asking questions, like that is hand to God how you learn shit. Like, and I mean, and I'm not even saying like asking questions like what's this piece of gear? Like, I mean, if you're on set and you see, a grip set a flag or, do a thing, you can legit ask like, why did you do that? Like we are, I mean, as is evidenced by this show, super happy to talk about what we do and why we do it, So yeah, I mean, I think asking questions, also, and I am terrible at this, as is evidence of being on the show, shutting the fuck up, being quiet, super good too. Like listening is an incredibly important aspect of this, paying attention, and yeah, I mean, I guess that's it really. Just like listening, learning, and then asking when you don't know. That's I mean, it's just like anything. Just having a curiosity for the thing that you're doing will generally result in you being better at the thing that you're doing.
So get off your phone.
Oh
and,
yeah,
like watch what's happening.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. If you're just like this the whole goddamn time, you're not. Yeah.
I would argue there's like what we've noticed in the last couple of years is there's like an immense number of people that they're not unaware of what's happening around them, but they don't know where anything is. Like usually there's the truck and there's like a closer staging.
Oh, you're describing situational awareness.
Well, but that's like
there's a real lack of that.
People say that it's like common sense isn't so common, but it's one of those things. It's like if you have 5 people, one of them's on set in the box, you have somebody at the close staging, you have somebody at the truck, you have maybe 2 floaters, something like that. Yeah. But if you've got like a new person that's coming in and is trying to be a hero every single day, like, hey, we need a 2x3. Don't be the guy that's running to the truck to grab something that's already 3 feet away from set.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's like, pay attention. That's what,
Yeah. Although it's funny, like to that same point, like I think one of the most valuable things for me when like hiring new crew or like finding new crew, like hiring someone again is anticipation. Which is hard, and I think that takes a while of like learning the gear and learning the why and asking the questions and stuff. But like, if we're setting, like, if you see the electric setting a 10K, and we've been doing siders and a bottomer all fucking day, like, just assume that like we're gonna want that. You know what I mean? And you can start to pull a 4x and bring it. You know what I mean? And like, if I don't want it, like, I'll say no. But like, if we've been doing it, every single other light on the set has that. Assume that it's going to happen. Like anticipation is a delightful thing to have, as especially as a grip. Like the ability to like sort of, I mean, because that trickles upwards too. Like as a key, you notice that your you notice that your DP, often asks for like, a bottom bounce or whatever, like you can just sort of assume like when we're doing a setup, you can just make a call to like have a, pizza box just standing by nearby. And like it makes the day go faster. Like it makes you look better. It makes your DP look better, because the day's going back. Like anticipation I think is an important one as well, which sort of falls into situational awareness, honestly. Because like if you're good enough, if you pay enough attention to what's going on around you, like you do learn that.
Right.
Yeah. And then as a result, like you don't have to be the one that runs from the 10K back to staging to grab the thing because, the rest of your team's already bringing the thing.
There is a whole fucking crew there to help you.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that goes back to your point about learning to delegate too. You said you weren't good at it.
Yeah, no, 100%. But it's like in that, it's kind of like it's sort of, there is the need for the key to learn to delegate, and I think it's also helpful if the crew can anticipate what and again that goes up the fucking line, right? So like it's the crew learning to anticipate the key's needs, it's the key learning to anticipate the DP's needs, it's the DP learning to anticipate the director's needs. Like once you get to that point, that's when a fucking film set is like firing on all, like that's when you're like doing 8-hour days and like everything's going well and everyone's happy and like that, like it's when everybody, and again, I mean that also just comes from time and experience and learning the other people's languages and stuff.
Sure.
So that might be sort of an unfair thing to ask a person to do, but once you can learn that, it's awesome.
But it definitely seems like just being aware of what you're.
Like head out of ass is like step one for sure.
Being aware, and then if you don't know, ask.
100%.
And ask at the time that is right. And
that
is the hardest part because
that goes back to head out of ass.
Yeah.
Like that's like that goes back into like situational.
It's just a circle.
Yeah. It's a real Bill Ted's problem. Yeah. Like in order we gotta meet Eddie Van Halen, but we gotta make a music video, but we gotta learn how to play our instruments kind of thing. Yeah, no, for sure. Again, like when I first came up, like the person in charge of safety was the key for a long while, and then it switched over to the first AD. But when I started, it was the key, and like I took that pretty seriously.
It still should be.
I think that's an unfair burden to put on the first because like they're juggling so many goddamn cats on set to begin with, and then to ask them to also be like situationally aware of safety when like you have a department who like is super eager to say no,
right?
And to like come on a set and like be the fucking tough guy. Like,
well, it's like the numbers you said you were running before on like lifts and stuff like. These have no idea what those numbers are.
No, and like they don't know what the load coming through the fucking generator is. Like that to me seems like should be somewhere within our departments, like the safety. That's gonna get me off onto a tangential conversation about some shit that happened on a set recently. But 100% should be. I feel like the key should be in charge of safety, or at least like have a
say in it.
Have skin in the game on that one. Because also like I mean I forgot who the quote was from, but it was like it was some actor was like on set like when you don't know how to do something or when something isn't possible to do, you ask the grip, and if they say no, then it's just not possible. like that is kind of our job is to the joke like what's the heaviest thing we carry? Art like more. All the love to art department. I came from the art department. My father's art department. But no, like I mean, the grip department oftentimes that's who it. Like sound department comes to us, art department comes to us, camera department comes to us. Like everybody at some point on a day, or at least on a shoot, will come to grip to problem solve a thing that they're having. So just from that standpoint, it would seem like we would be decent people to have, like make sure that everyone's safe.
100%. Yeah.
Like we're already kind of doing that job to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's weird that it's not still that way.
Yeah. When did that change?
I mean, I don't know, man. Time's a flat circle now.
It was a little bit before.
Five
It was
to
a little
10
bit
years
before
ago.
COVID,
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know anymore. Okay. 2 weeks, 10 years. I don't know. But yeah, like 5 to 10 years ago, I think, something like that. Yeah.
We're at 2.5 hours.
Okay.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, I think we're in a good place.
Well, BT, do you have any stories you just want to off the cuff? I know you had a couple stories that you.
Oh yeah, I got a couple. Let me 10-1. Am I allowed to 10-1?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Dig.
Yeah, we're gonna
10-1
cut
for
for a
you
moment.
kids at home is take a leak. So like rigs I wanted to get to. So my first set husband and like my one true only Eric Bronco would be honestly asked me specifically to talk about this. We did a gig in Tanzania years ago, which I cannot tell you the whole story because it will literally take 4 hours and might involve some libel and possible legal thing. Which is a real tantalizing story right there. It involves gem smugglers, African princesses.
No,
I don't know, man. I don't know. There are certain things that are beyond statutes of limitations. No, we did a music video in Tanzania, and we got suddenly tasked with doing a car rig. And the Tanzanian crew are incredibly sweet people. I had an absolute fucking blast in Dar es Salaam. It's incredibly beautiful. There is almost no gear there, and certainly not 20 years ago. But they wanted to do a car rig, so we drove to the there's like it's like a flea market, I guess is kind of how I describe it. Or yeah, flea market, whatever, fucking point of the story, flea market. And there was like kind of like a hardware store section of the flea market, and we went there and we just bought a shitload of like 1 inch or 1.5 inch PVC pipe, which is what they use for their drainage there. And then a bunch of like elbow fittings and other weird shit. And then they didn't have ratchet straps there either. So just a bunch of like nylon rope. And we legit built like a full on hood mount, like sort of like offset hood mount with this like PVC plastic pipe, which I have a picture of somewhere. So I will send that to you. But that was like a really good, and like we saved it because like we realized like, oh, you put it into the thing and then you put it into the elbow and then you kind of try to ratchet it down. But the pipe, it's just sitting in the elbow, so it kind of would rotate. So we just used a shitload of duct tape. just an absolute mountain of duct tape. And that's how we kind of locked that fucker in. But it worked great. I mean, we put I drilled a hole into one of the PVC pipes and then ran the thread of the ball mount that the HPX was on, through that, and then bolted that off, and then nylon roped it, triangulated it like you're supposed to as a grip, and we drove through Dar es Salaam at terrifying speeds for this hip hop video with using PVC plastic pipe. Okay, so that was so.
And Bronco. Not like a ton of flex in it, like you had it.
Oh yeah, no, fuck yeah, a ton of flex. Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, no. You know what? It's funny you mentioned that. Yes, initially, totally. Yeah, and then I just kind of like cut little discs of the PVC pipe and kind of shoved it underneath the deflection points. And then I remember that the only way I could keep it from like sliding like forward or back is I had to like, how the fuck did I do this? I think I took Cardellini's because they had Cardellini's. No, they had Maffers, which is the most useless goddamn. It's a pin holder. We had Maffers and long arms and gobos. So I took the gobo and the long arm off of a Maffer and just kind of like shoved it into the headlight well, like real hard. So that kept it from moving like backwards.
That's where like you pre-bend it and then you tighten it down.
Yeah, 100%. Yep, exactly. So that was how we kept it from moving forward, that's how we kept it from moving backwards because we were driving pretty fast. But that was a hip hop video. I mean, it's okay. It's a little the bounce is it's part of the
it adds to it.
It's part of the look. Yeah. It's part of the look. The other one I wanted to mention, it's not a shitty rig, but it's just like it's proof that like through sheer force of will, you kind of can get a lot of shit done. We did one of my first indies. We were doing a horror film. We were shooting in Fort Wadsworth, which is that there's an old American Revolution era fort right under the Verrazano as you go into Staten Island. It's actually where the last shots of the American Revolution were fired from. As the Brits left, like we fired some cannonballs at them as like a, that was the last, anyway, Fort Wadsworth. So we're in Fort Wadsworth. The DP had asked for, this is going. The DP had asked for a condor for the shoot, and Fort Wadsworth it's a fucking fort. So it's it's a big high stone walls, and it was back when there were horses and carriages. So there's like a big arch sort of entrance into the parade ground inside the fort. And the DP had asked for a condor, and I had never used a condor, and I was so excited to use a condor because it was like a big boy, like I'm now a big boy, and so he wanted I can't remember but I demanded an 85-foot condor. Like I was like, I want the biggest one we can get, And I remember the producer being like, "Do you really need this?" And I was like, "Fuck yes, we absolutely need this. The DP's demanding it." DP was not demanding it. DP's demanding it. So they deliver this 85-foot condor, and I had built leveling blocks because I learned that was a thing you were supposed to do. So I had, I'd got my 2x12 board, made 45-degree cut them, real psyched to have a condor, and it lands, and we drive the fucking thing up to the gate, and where the arm touches the ass. Just ran right into the arch of the.
Oh no!
Like 3 inches too high. 3 inches too high, and the producer's sitting there looking at me because I mean, like it was a budgetary fight to get that, and I was like, "Fuck, what do we do?" And he was like, "It's not getting in." And I was like, "It's fucking getting in. There is a way we can get in." And again, like I was describing earlier about how I figured. I think like I kind of walked away from the condor and I stared at it for a while. And I was like, because like it dipped, like the arm dips down, right? So it's just the ass smith of the condor was touching the arch, and the rest of it just went down. So like, if you could just lift the condor a little bit, you could probably get that in. So I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at these new leveling blocks we built, and I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the new leveling blocks we built. And we spun the turret around to where it was off, like off turret. So now the ass is even hanging further out over the wheels. And because I had 4 leveling blocks. And Robin Park was my best or my third on that. And I was in the bucket and he was in the front. And I started driving and I drove up the leveling blocks. And the condor like lifted and the ass went down. And then the next leveling blocks, went in, and we drove over those. And then he pulled those 2 out, and we just slowly kept going forward. And dude, the parks department guy was sitting there watching, and we got up to the part of the ass with the condor, and I cleared it by like a half inch, like a quarter inch, by just wheeling the condor slowly. And the best fucking part of this whole goddamn thing, you'll like this. It was a glass I picked. It was on I Saw the Dead. On that day, they were doing like BTS, like interviews, but like it was, it's like those classic BTS interviews where they're just interviewing the producers and shit. Like none of the actual interesting. So while this BTS, like the camera's pointed at the producer, behind the camera is me fucking wheeling the condor in, and I'm screaming at the BTS guy to spin the camera around because like, look at this crazy shit we're doing. Did not do it. So but like a real slow, just a slow wheelie in. And then we got the condor in. Holy cow! No one gave a shit. Like no one gave a shit.
Yeah.
And then we're setting up the shot, and the DP goes like, I don't know. I don't think we don't really need the condor. And I was like, Rick, you don't understand what it took to get this goddamn thing in here. We are using this fucking condor. So for that scene, I had like one par can, like 80 feet in the air, just like doing fucking nothing.
Oh my god!
But you can lower a condor 3 inches. Yeah.
That's
amazing.
fucking phenomenal.
There's one guy on that set that's just.
Oh yeah, we're just
exactly.
super
It was the
slow
parks guy.
clapping. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, what that was.
The parks guy running out of sight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the park. We impressed the parks guy. Yeah,
So I'm guessing you also had to do that on the way out.
Oh yeah. And the best part was I had forgotten how we got it in. By the time, because like when we got in, I had spun the turret around, offset it, but like I don't know why I thought to do that, but that's how we got it in. I didn't remember that, so we were trying it again. It just wasn't going. And I was like, did the Earth raise or like is the like what? It was like a full panic too, because like I couldn't figure it the fuck out. We're like, no, go up on the thing. We're up on the thing. I'm like, are you up on the thing? We're up on the thing. No, you can't be up on the. It was just it was a real nightmare.
It's where they look at your time cards after. How were you in 3 hours after everybody else? They left.
Oh, no, that was the other thing, is that the producer was standing there being like, you're getting close to overtime. You have to get this condor out. And I'm like, I don't know how I got it in. Yeah.
Like, leave it there. Let the rental guy handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's still a condor sitting in the parade ground of Fort Wadsworth.
And that was me.
It's there to this day. Yeah. St. Mark's, Fort Wadsworth. Yeah. So those are the two I wanted to. I really wanted to mention.
That's awesome.
So if anyone needs to get an 85-foot condor in Fort Wadsworth,
4 step-up
guy.
blocks, 3 stages high. Yeah.
It can be done.
It can
It was
be done.
just a Roman road. You were on one, and then you moved the other blocks in front of it.
Correct.
And then you drove. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's how they built the pyramids.
Yeah. We were just talking about this before the episode.
I love that. That's
the theme
and
of
then
the day.
this is like what I'm saying with the dolly too. Is like the amount of work and effort and like
Oh, yeah.
labor to
No one gave a shit.
and then you get it in there, and then they're like, "Yeah, I don't actually."
Now we're
do
good.
this."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have just brought a mambo
Yeah.
in here.
Yep.
Honestly, like what that condor actually wound up being used for. So yeah, we used it for the Barcan or whatever. But once we got it the fuck out of there, like because it took so goddamn long to get it out of there, because I'd forgotten how to do it. I was to the producer, I was like, look, I'm not going to charge you for overtime because I can't remember how to do this shit.
Yeah.
So then I felt bad for my guys because like they had to eat, not getting overtime. So I went and I bought like a 24 pack of beer. And then all 3 of us got into the Condor outside of Fort Wadsworth, went full stick vertical, and like watched the sunset over the Verrazano, just drinking beers.
Nice.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, might have happened.
Yeah,
Might have not
but
happened.
that's basically what that Condor was rented for. Was for 3 grips to just hammer beers, like and romantically watching the
85 feet
sunset.
up.
Yeah, over New York City. Yeah, that's pretty.
That's like a beautiful way to end the movie right there.
Yeah, and possibly a beautiful way to end
A podcast.
a podcast.
Oh, well.
See what I did for your edit there, buddy?
Good job.
I love
buddy.
that.
I got your little
Appreciate
outro.
it.
Yeah.
ET, thank you so much.
Oh, bud, absolute fucking pleasure. Holy
Super
shit.
happy to have you here. We learned a lot. I think
Bird.
you're
Great.
baby.
Yes.
you are our key grip for Shitty Race.
Fuck yeah, I will absolutely take that. Tight.
Thank you guys. This has been episode 10 of Rap Drinks, and this is the final episode of the season. So we'll see you back in season 2.
Peace.
Bye. That's it.